I'd like to call to order the monthly meeting for the Parks, Recreation, Human Service, Public Safety Committee meeting to order. Looks like I'm getting feedback. Okay. It's 5 p.m. on May 12th. I'm calling to order this committee. I'm Les Sessoms, Chair of the committee. I'd like to welcome my colleagues here. To my left is Councilmember Lydia Asefa Dawson, and to my right, Councilmember Melissa Hamilton. We also have in attendance here Councilmember Linda Kochmar and Council President Susan Honda. A little later, we will be joined by Councilmember Jack Walsh, who is detained momentarily. Do we have any council members online? Hearing none. I'd like to say that we do have a long agenda tonight. However, we have, as you may have noticed from your agenda, there are time limits per each presentation. We will try to abide by that and respect everyone's time. So with that, we are going to have public comment. We have several members of the community lined up and ready to go. I should also note that there are four public comments, or four individuals sent their public comments through email. We are not going to read them into the record, but they have been received and are noted. So first up, we have Mr. Mike Rutland. Welcome to the podium. Thank you very, very much for being here.
Good evening. My name is Mike Rutland, and I've been a resident of Federal Way for the past 28 years. And I've come here to speak on the city's flag policy. I've recently learned of the consternation regarding the City of Federal Way's flag policy and the raising of different flags for specific days for different groups. Now, I served in the Air Force for 24 years, and I was in the first Gulf War. And I fought, and I had brothers die for that flag that sits out there. Right now, we have three flags out there: the United States flag, which we all fall under, the state of Washington's flag, and the City of Federal Way flag. Over my right shoulder, the center document, the Constitution of the United States, we the people. Well, we the people is everybody. Doesn't matter who you are. Black, white, Asian, anybody. Gay, straight, doesn't matter. We the people. When we start opening up the policy to raise different flags for different occasions, we open up a can of worms to every group, every organization, anybody who has a platform to be able to put a flag up and put it down, regardless of anybody else's consideration. Now, as far as I know, the flag out there of the United States has 50 stars on it, representing 50 states. Every state in the Union, Washington is one of them. I sincerely urge the committees to follow those three flags and those three flags only, so in that way, nobody gets offended, nobody's entitled to anything, and we live in a community that is united and united under one standard, the American flag. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Mr. Paul McDaniel.
Good evening. Paul McDaniel, resident since the early 1990s. My comment topic will be the flags too. I'd like to start by thanking the Senior Commission. I was at the Health and Resource Fair for seniors today, and they did a phenomenal job, so I want to give them a shout out for that. And the next one, I just want to make a quick comment to the council. I just want to remind you guys do not work for the city, you don't work for an organization, you don't work for a company or a party, you work for the residents, not just the ones who voted for you, but all of them. So when you make your decisions, I'd like to remind you of that it's all citizens you guys should be thinking of. Now I'm going to talk to the facts about the flag policy. The first fact, in 2019, the council was too weak to make a decision, and they gave up the power to a strong mayor. That strong mayor passed a mayor's policy, and for the first year I was on council, I just kind of watched how things went. Then throughout that year, I noticed a few things, and I read through the mayor's policy, and there's a few items I took issue with. The first one was pointing out that City Hall is not a public forum. Being non-public forum, there is no right to free speech. It's governmental speech. That allowed the city to choose winners and losers on flags. There is already 2 flags that were denied to be flown due to being controversial. I'm not sure who made the determination on that to be controversial, but they were deemed to be controversial. The second thing was the city was not allowed to purchase the flags. It states here the city will not purchase flags for this purpose. The city actually purchased flags. They purchased flags they were not supposed to. So again, the city is breaking its own rules. The next one, flags will fly for 7 consecutive days. I found out recently that some flags were flown longer and that we had 2 flags at the same time. I didn't know we had second-class citizenships on the flags also, where one flag is allowed to be flown when another one's flagged too. I think that it should be 1 flag for 7 days if you're going to stay for 7 days. The next one was the non-controversial unifying theme. It stated nowhere who made that determination. Who makes the determination if something is non-controversial or if it's a unifying theme? And the last one was that it states that City Hall was where the flags are supposed to be flown, not on 3/20th. So what brought this all forward was watching one flag being raised above others, not just above the American flag, but above the other flags that have been selected for this. People like to say that I'm targeting the pride flag with this comments and what I've done. But I would like to point out that one flag was treated different. One flag was purchased. One flag was flown on 3/20th. One flag was allowed to be flown when another one, the Juneteenth flag, was flown. Why? I believe in fairness and equality. And I gave you guys that fairness and equality with the current resolution. So tonight you guys get to make a decision on what you want to do with that. I strongly recommend taking some more time. If you want to do this right, have one that you can get a full vote on. I had a 6-1 vote. You guys will never get close to that with what you guys are looking at proposing. Find the parks. Find the place you want to do it. Make sense of this and make it free speech. If you care about lawsuits, then maybe you shouldn't go forward with this. Good luck tonight. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Jeffrey Cancredi.
Good evening, Council. Nice to see you all. Thanks for letting me speak tonight. Yeah, my talk is going to be on the flag policy as well. In July of 2019, a CNBC reporter interviewed Robert Louis Johnson. Robert Louis Johnson is the founder of BET. He is the founder of Black Entertainment Network. He is the first black billionaire. And the CNBC reporter asked him a series of questions about the economy and so forth, and it was a nice interview. But it was near the end of the interview when the CNBC reporter asked Robert Louis Johnson, the founder of BET, what are your views about the Democrat candidates running for president in 2020? His response was, quote, "The Democrat Party went too far to the left." He went on to say to that CNBC reporter, if the Democrat Party does not come back to the middle, they may have a hard time winning a national election. So given that background of information, I'm asking myself as I'm preparing to speak tonight, why would a city government, raise a flag that represents somebody's sexuality or their sexual preference? What somebody does in the privacy of their home is nobody's business. It's no one's business what someone does in terms of intimacy with another person. Yet the city of Federal Way in the past has raised a flag that sort of advertises someone's sexuality. And so I feel like I'm a reasonable person. I'm trying to ask myself, why would a city government do that? What someone does in the privacy of their home is their own business, and it shouldn't be advertised to the residents of Federal Way. So I just wanted to thank you for the opportunity to speak tonight. I'm not here to judge anyone. In the Bible, it says, don't judge lest you be judged. Not here to judge anybody. We're all part of a human race. God created all of us equally. We don't have to put anybody into a box and pit us against each other. No, we're part of a human race. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Mr. Ron Kaler.
Good evening, committee, council members. Ron Kaler, 3-year resident of Federal Way. Raised my family here. When this flag policy initially came up 5 years ago, I remember speaking about it, and it was quite a scene when this whole chambers was full of a lot of the Slavic Christian believers that were here speaking out against raising an alternative flag. It was full. And I think that was one of my first or second council meetings I ever attended, and I go, well, what's going on here? So I found out, and I was in total agreement that we have our three flags, our state flag, city flag, and our national flag. And as a veteran that I served under and took my oath for with the Constitution, as Mike was talking about, but in that council meeting, I said, you open this door and start raising these other flags, you're going to open up, like Mike said, a can of worms. And we're 5 years down the line, and we're still kicking this can. We are still using our city resources, personnel, to deal with a simple fact that we have our three flags here that we all serve, live under, and reside under. You start bringing up all these other flags, if you're going to look at federal recognized days where you start picketing all these, or you come up with some kind of a plan that you're going to have to decide which are more viable or acceptable, you're just creating more chaos, and we don't need the chaos. We don't need a meeting like this. This is not even reasonable. You have a policy, stand by the policy, abide by it, and be a council that will adhere to it. Stick to the three flags that we have and leave it at that. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Mrs. Carmen Kaler.
Good evening, council members. I first wanted to also give a big shout out to the senior activity that we had today, the senior fair. It was amazing. So many people that actually I was able to invite, and they were able to participate, and they really enjoyed it. Thank you for doing that. The city has done a tremendous job trying to keep us all united all together. So I wanted to just say really briefly about the flag policy that I support leaving the flag policy as it is, and that if people want to put a flag announcing their sexual orientation, they can do it in their own property. And actually, that is the freedom that we have in the United States. Not in many countries, in Saudi Arabia and all the countries like that, you cannot even put a flag out there. So I think we should be thankful and appreciative that we can actually express, if that's what you want to do out of your home and your own person, go ahead and do that. But we shouldn't be, all the rest of us, having to deal with these changes in policies, and we should just keep it as it is. Thank you.
Vivian Alexander.
Good evening. My name is Vivian Alexander. I've been a resident of Federal Way for 10 years. You might be surprised. I came here simply to thank you. Thank you for the farmers market. Thank you for relocating it, for continuing with it, for supporting it. Another thing to thank you for is I understand that Mayor Farrell had a meeting, and he worked out with the group he met with some of the problems, some of the things that people might have been concerned about that need to be improved with the market. The market is not only a farmer's market. I mean, just to call it that, of course, we know there's produce, right? There's gifts. This is such an opportunity for the community to get together. In particular, I'm glad there's going to be seating again. That's taken care of. The seating brought people together. I have to just say out loud, I love getting a big hug from Catherine Festa. Every time we'd go there and it's all set up, you can have coffee and food. The City of Federal Way is doing some good things. Now, if you know me, you know I have a lot to say about the flag policy and the reasons behind it, which I'm not, because I'm just going to say thank you. Okay.
Sarah Lee.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay. I'm also here to speak about the flag policy. My name is Sarah. I'm a homeowner in Federal Way. I've lived here for 4 years, so I am relatively new to the city. I've been watching how the city works or doesn't work, and I'd like to share some observations. I keep hearing council talk about keeping up with other cities, about making Federal Way attractive to tourists and businesses and homeowners. Well, in 2024, Federal Way was ranked among the top 5 most diverse places to live in all of Washington state, and that's above Seattle, and in the top 10 for the entire country. Instead of leaning into that to drive economic growth, things like the current flag policy appear as if the council is trying to hide our diversity. The current flag policy doesn't even allow the city to advertise its own events with flags and banners in high-traffic areas, events like Kickin' It. We can't celebrate nationally recognized holidays and days that acknowledge our country's history, which the city builds programming around, with things like raising a pride flag to celebrate Pride Month, again, a federally recognized month that makes us, at best, bad at business, and at worst, unwelcoming to people who don't fit into very specific categories. Outside of the morals of that, we need the tax dollars. We have the light rail now coming down here, and lots of opportunities for people to see who we are and what events and things we have on offer for them. The current flag policy, the controversy seems that it's around all kinds of people and groups who want to fly random flags. If flags are only allowed to be flown when they represent official, federally recognized holidays, city events, days of recognition, that controversy seems averted as far as I can tell. So in closing, Federal Way doesn't need to be a place that raises any old flag or banner, but we should at least be a place that can use its own resources to advertise its own events and programs with flags and banners, etc. Thank you.
Thank you. Patty Ballister. Oh, I'm sorry, this was an email. Mr. Craig Patrick.
Good evening. My name is Craig Patrick. I've been a resident of Federal Way since 1996, and I am speaking as a resident of Federal Way, as an individual. Excuse me. We were raising the flag, the Irish flag here in Federal Way, starting in 2019, and it was a really celebratory event. We had bagpipe players. We recognized 2 members of the community for their service. I think that there is room for flag raising. May not want to be on the City Hall. There are other opportunities with flagpoles already in place where there are rights of way on 509 and 312th. The flag policy, this is Federal Way. Maybe we should follow the Federal Way or the federal guidelines when it comes to flag raising and holidays. Like, they have, the Congress passed March as being Irish Heritage Month. They have proclamations for Juneteenth. They have proclamations for Pride Month at the federal level. So if we can mirror the federal level, that would take out a variable of the city coming up with its own type of flag policies. I don't really think we're picking winners and losers. I think we're picking people who are proud of their heritage, their culture, their lifestyle. I'm ambivalent about certain things. I think that if it was done correctly, that it could be a success. I was approached about 4 years ago to be on the Diversity Commission by elected officials. I'm not speaking as a Diversity Commission member, I'm speaking as an individual. This individual, me, was approached to be put on the Diversity Commission. And there was a point where they were going to close down the Diversity Commission. And they asked me to see if I could go in there and maybe work with some people that are there. And you guys trusted me. You trusted me to go in there. You trusted me to do some stuff and work with some people. And I would really like to have that trust back and forth with this commission to raise the flag and do it correctly. There's definitely opportunity for it. It will definitely bring in revenue. I've had folks talk to me at the Irish community who are ambivalent about coming here. Maybe we're going to come, maybe we're not. We see they're going to stop doing the flags. We don't know. Maybe we'll take our business to another city. I mean, Seattle still raises the Irish flag during St. Patrick's Day, during the march. I think that there's movement, and I'm a vet as well. And I know we have unit flags. I know the 69th out of New York had a big green flag with a harp on it for the Irish people who fought in the Civil War and the wars in America. So I think that that's important too. Thank you for your time.
Rachel Jones.
Hello. Please excuse the outfit. I came here straight from paddleboarding on Steel Lake. I don't have anything super prepared, but I wanted to speak on the flag policy. My name is Rachel Jones. I've lived here, my family moved here in 2000, so about 26 years. I keep hearing tonight that the U.S. state and city flags cover everyone, but I would question whether it truly does. We see more and more rights being threatened to be taken away nationally, and it's a scary time for a lot of folks. It would be one thing if we had never had these flags flown, but the fact that we have and now it's being taken away is scary to me. We're seeing, that seems to be a pattern we're seeing a lot these days in government, and I would rather not. I know that it's also been addressed that, you know, flags that even the council would love to see on 320th, the banners, during kicking it, stuff like that, that right now our current policy prevents that. And I think that's kind of shooting ourselves in the foot there. It reminds me of places in the South filling in the pools instead of desegregating them. And I don't think that's the right direction to be moving. So I would ask that we please ignore the hatred of different groups and kind of welcome more. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you. Anna Patrick.
Good evening. So I'm just going to speak about the flags. Surprise, surprise. So I personally am not attached to having flags at City Hall. I am curious about what I've recently heard about nationally recognized flags being only flown. I don't know what that entails. I'm curious about it. I don't support it one way or another. I'm just curious about it. I've also heard things like, we support your city more economically, like certain businesses support the city more if they bring certain things. I don't know if necessarily City Hall is the place for it, because I think as a city, I worry about what that does when federally mandated requirements versus state mandated requirements clash. I remember hearing last time I was here about the swim competitions being called off this year because of some clashes with federal versus state requirements, and suddenly we can't do our swim competitions. So, I think that there should be some careful thought in what this looks like for us as a city, and make sure that we're not impairing our ability to do the things that we need to do as a city to thrive. And, I think that sometimes the flags can be divisive. I think a statement at City Hall and on all of our public-facing documents just a general statement that we don't discriminate and list off all of the groups that we don't discriminate against. I've seen those statements elsewhere. I think that's more of an inclusive statement. We certainly want to celebrate community, and I think we need to figure out what that looks like as a city. I think people are asking whether or not we need to have that at City Hall is something that should be considered. So hopefully you'll take all these comments to account and make a sound decision. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Harold Booker.
Good evening, members of the council. My name's Harold Booker, been here since 1963. I just came to listen tonight and then was compelled to share a few thoughts. Flags, flags, flags. We spent a lot of time talking about flags. And I still, listening, haven't quite figured out what, quote, the issue is. In a business perspective, at the moment, our policy doesn't allow us to advertise for things that we would like to have people know we're doing and supporting. A couple of years ago, we had an international soccer competition at the Federal Way Memorial Stadium. We couldn't raise flags to share and say, hey, we are welcoming you here. We support you being here. Having a policy that is so restrictive that when we're having events, we cannot advertise, support, etc., it seems like shooting ourselves in both feet. We have challenges raising funds, economically supporting ourselves, and we don't want to be able to have banners that promote folks who have decided they wanted to come here. Kicking it Federal Way. Early on, we talked about that, gee, wouldn't it be great to have some of the supporters groups staying at Dumas Bay, coming here, using the light rail to get to places. when Bosnia-Herzegovina joined the competition on March 31st? Did we reach out? Could we raise a flag and say, welcome supporter group, come hang out, come spend your money in our city? Not at the moment. I am confused about what the real issue is. Because, yeah, there's a lot of noise floating around. But what is the real issue? Once we know that, then maybe we can figure out a way to solve it. But there's way too much fog going on right now, and I can't figure it out. Thanks for your time.
Thank you. That looks like it concludes public comment. Now moving on to committee business. We need to approve the summary minutes of April 14th. I'd like to call for a motion to approve the minutes.
You want to make it her? I approve the minutes.
Is there a
I
second?
move to approve the minutes.
Second.
It has been moved and seconded to approve the minutes. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
The motion is passed. Item B, approve the 2026 School Resource Officer Interlocal Agreement. We are going to hear from Commander Thaddeus Hodge.
Thank you, Committee President, committee members, Council President, and Council members. The subject today is approve the 2026-2027 School Resource Officer Interlocal Agreement. The policy question is, should the city enter into an interlocal agreement with Federal Way Public Schools for the 2026-2027 school year Resource Officer Program? The options are, 1, approve the proposed interlocal agreement. Number 2, do not approve proposed interlocal agreement and provide direction to staff. The financial impact, the Federal Way School District will pay 73.09% of the salaries of 5 officers assigned to the school in the city. 73.09 represents the ratio of 182 days worked under this agreement to the total of 250 days worked annually by an officer. Adjustment to this calculation may change based on reduced officer deployment or increased labor costs paid by the city due to labor agreements or other required changes in officers' compensation. Background. The Federal Way Police Department has partnered with the Federal Way School District and the SROs since 1997. The agreement would provide 5 SROs to the Federal Way Public District, 1 for each of the main high schools in the district for the 26-27 school year. The paramount responsibility of SROs to protect the lives of the innocent at the schools on school-related activities. In on-campus incidents, SROs would likely be the first to respond even before patrol officers or SWAT teams are needed. SROs are also provide active assistance training to school administrative staffs and students. We've been in the schools for a long time. I was the SRO in the schools, and we do more than just protect. We're counselors, we're mentors, we're coaches, we're part of the program, we're part of the school with the kids, and we really do have an opportunity to bond with them. Over the past couple of years, especially recently, that bond of one of the students has them come forward and report a possible incident. So they do more than just patrol the school. They bond with the kids, they mentor, and they're a great resource. And after that, I will say, any questions?
Do we have any questions from the dais? Councilmember Asefa Dawson.
Thank you. Hi, I do have a couple of questions, and not around your presentation, because yes, we need the SROs there. But I want to know, my first question is, what does success really look like with the SROs? It's like, is it student interaction, or is there data around what has been diverted, what has been sent out for referral, or did they de-escalate? You know, all these different things that do happen that SROs are responsible for. I just want to have a little feel for what actually does take place in these schools, and how do they build trust with the students? Because that is really key to their success.
Well, the answer to your first question is, how do you judge success? Or how do you judge how things are going well? And I think that is very subjective. It depends on the individual and who you're looking at. A few years ago, Federal Way was one of the highest people that had referrals to the prosecutor's office. Based on that, we made some changes, and that dropped, and now we're one of the lowest who makes prosecution referrals for the prosecutor. If you're talking about me, what my idea of success is, it is the officers interacting with the kids coming to the officers when they have a problem, officers coaching wrestling coaches, starting programs, interaction with kids, walking around lunch and kids running up to them saying hi and hello, giving them hugs. Success is their interaction, and success is their ability to be part of the culture in the school and be accepted.
Yeah, and I think that's great, because if that builds trust with the students instead of fearing them or seeing them as adversaries, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. But then, so do you know what techniques they use in terms of, like referring them to out if there's a need, or de-escalation, or all these different things? Do they use a lot of those methods to, when there's issues and incidences at the school?
Well, a lot of those things you're talking about is a school responsibility. Officers only going to respond after there are criminal activity for a lot of things, and that is a law that was passed about 4 or 5 years ago as far as what we can respond to and what we need to do. The interaction is just every day. They need to be out walking around, talking to kids, building that bond. And that's why we are so selective when we select officers who go into the school. We want officers who believe in the SRO program and believe in making that bond. So, like I said, it's kind of hard to answer that question. How they build it, it really depends on them. Some of them like to stay after school and lift weights with kids. Some of them are football coaches. Some of them are soccer coaches. I leave it up to those officers to bond with the kids in the way they want to bond with them, but all of them are bonding in their own way, be it walking around at lunch, talking to them, or coaching in programs. And they don't get paid for doing this when they're coaching and after school. All that's done because they love what they're doing in the kids.
Council President Honda.
Thank you. It's always good to see you.
Yes, ma'am, thank you.
Do the SROs attend school staff meetings?
They do,
Oh, good.
they do,
Do they get to give input then? And
yes.
awesome. And for events after school or at the Memorial Stadium, are the SROs required to attend for security purposes?
It depends. It depends on the activity that's going on. For local schools, when they're playing each other, they have 2 or 3 SROs. If it's something that's really low, like girls, and we don't think girls of track, and we don't think it's going to be a big issue, they don't attend. But we have a schedule of what they do attend for security. Football games, basketball games, and stuff like that, they do attend it, and they are required to, yes, ma'am.
So
Well,
how-
they're not required to. They provide overtime
Okay.
for us to, and if they don't, we will find an officer to do it.
So my next question was about how are they compensated? So
Yes.
they're compensated with overtime for that?
Yes, and the school pays for that overtime.
Okay.
All that overtime, the school pays for.
All right.
Budgeted.
Thank you. Stay safe.
Thank you, ma'am.
Councilmember Coachmart.
Hi, Commander. Thank you for what you do. You've been doing it for many years, and I know that our kids love you. I know that some teachers from one of the high schools told me several years ago to take this back to council, that they were afraid of guns being in the lockers. Do you know if that's still occurring, or if that's a problem?
Kids bringing guns to school, you mean?
Yeah.
I think it's always going to be a problem. We've had several arrests over the past couple of weeks where kids have had weapons on campus. So I think it is a problem. I don't think it's just a Federal Way problem. It's just a new cultural problem where people see things on TikTok and Facebook, and they want to be cool and drive and bring it to school. So yes, it is a problem, and we have dealt with it in the past couple of weeks where no one was hurt and the guns were taken off and the people dealt with.
Do they have very many 3D imprinted guns?
I have no idea, ma'am.
Thank you.
Councilmember Walsh.
Yeah. Hey, thanks for being here. It's always great to see you.
Thank you, sir.
What type of special training do the SROs receive for interacting with the kids?
First of all, I would like to say that to be an SRO, you have to be a special type of officer. You have to want to be a mentor. You have to want to interact with the kids. So I think the police department is very selective in who we put in there because we know the needs, and it's different than doing police work on the road, being in the schools. As far as the training that they have to do, the state passed a law about 5 years ago that there were 13 criteria that they have to go through and pass, and actually have to be certified by the state's school district to work in the schools. So.
Okay, all right, thank you. And I think they generally do a great job, and very glad that they're there.
Thank you, sir.
Councilmember Hamilton.
Thank you, Commander Hodge, for that report. So I volunteer at TJ every couple weeks, and I always see our school resource officer there, and it's always a good thing to see them there. I have a question for you. If there was, God forbid, an active shooter situation at a school, does a school resource officer go in and try to stop the threat immediately, or do they wait for backup?
The school resource officer will be the first person on scene, and his responsibility is to go stop the threat. There is no waiting. When kids and people's lives are in danger, he will respond immediately until help arrives.
And that's pretty unusual to not wait for backup.
In the schools, that is what we are taught. So that
Yeah.
is the way that we do it. It is to save lives. It is to save the kids. You respond immediately to the threat. You don't wait for backup, and that's what we're taught, and that's the way everyone will respond.
Yeah. Yeah, and what I meant by that comment was, it's unusual not to wait for backup in any other situation, but for a active school shooting situation, there is no waiting for backup. A school resource officer will go in, put their lives on the line, and try to stop the threat to save lives. So I was told that by an officer many, many years ago, and that made me have a lot of respect for school resource officers, what they're willing to do for our students, and the way that they would put their lives on the line without any backup. So thank you for your answer, and that's my comments.
Thank you, ma'am.
Okay. Is there a motion to approve the interlocal agreement between the city and Federal Way School District for the School Resource Officer Program for the 2026 school year, and move to the May 19th council consent agenda?
I move to forward the proposed interlocal agreement to the May 19, 2026 consent agenda for approval.
Second?
It has been moved and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed, nay. The motion is passed. Next, we're going to hear from Angelina Paisi? PC. PC.
Thank you. Just give me a
Welcome.
second here.
They are going to talk about the 2026 CDBG Annual Action Plan.
Good evening, Chair Sessoms, Council President Honda, and members of council. Angelina Allen, PC, Community Services Manager in the Community Development Department. So the policy question before you today is, should the City Council approve the 2026 Community Development Annual Action Plan? So just to give a quick background, what is the CDBG Annual Action Plan? Essentially, it's a document, it's a plan that's required every year by the Housing and Urban Development, HUD, for how we spend our CDBG dollars. It details specific projects, activities, and resources to meet affordable housing and community development needs for the upcoming year. So this is going to give you a picture of what our allocation is for this year. We received notification in April. We're looking at about $789,015, and it's broken down into various categories. So we have 20% is for our planning and admin, 15% is for public services that help support rental assistance, small business development, those kind of things. It can also, we have 65% of about $512,000 that supports also small business development, but in different ways, and also around capital projects. So initially, because full disclosure, this funding recommendation was presented to you back in October. However, because I was new, I didn't have the right template that I presented to you back then. So HUD had not provided that clear direction. They were going through transition. There was a government shutdown. So the templates that I had were not the correct ones. Since then, this annual plan has been updated, and so it now has the correct format. In addition to that, HUD issued new guidance back in April, so just about a month ago, where annual action plans must have actual grant amounts rather than having estimates. So when I presented this last year, it was an estimated amount. So I would have still had to have come before you to probably have done an amendment to that annual action plan. So rather than doing that, I started over in order to just bring it back to you because there have been some adjustments that had to be made. So what I want to do is show you what those 2026 recommendations were, and I want to just take my time just a little bit. If you look at column A, in green, those are the public services. Just to remind you, the public services were approved by you back in 2024 for 2025 and 2026. However, you're going to see some other recommendations that are highlighted in blue. So for example, if you look at Fusion, because we were having a bit of a shortfall, when you all approved these actions, we were looking at 1.2 million, a little more than that, as you can see here on column G. And in order to address it, we had to look at prior program year funding that the city had in 2024 and in 2025. So for example, if you look at Fusion and the PEAT, if you look at column E, we're looking at providing those funds out of 2025 resources. If you look at Fusion for their Poverty Bay, we're looking at using some of the program year 2024 resources and also 2026. So you can see some of the changes that are highlighted in blue. In addition to that, you will see some reductions under Highline, under Upwards, under ACHD, and under El Centro. Their original request you'll see in column B, but because we had to maximize the other prior year funds with the current funding allocation in order to try to meet that 1.2 million figure. And so as a result, we do have 4 organizations that will receive a slight reduction, and they have been notified, they are aware that this is going to take place. So the options that are before you is to move the item forward for the first public hearing scheduled for June 16th, or do not move the item forward for a public hearing scheduled for June 16th and provide direction to staff. And there are 2 things I did want to mention that I failed to mention to you is on April 20th, this was shared with the Human Services Commission in terms of what I've shared with you today. And they did make the recommendation that we look at combining our 2026 allocation and using program year funding that we had available from 24 and also 25 to try to cover a bit of that shortfall. And then also on May 4th, we held a special meeting to talk about the annual action plan. And they also made the recommendation that council should approve this revised plan. I will stop there and see if there are any questions.
All right, Councilmember Hamilton, and then Councilmember Sefa Dawson.
Thank you, Angelina, and thank you for working with me on some of the other questions I've had this last month. I have a few questions. This is a very large item with a lot of information included. So I'm trying to wrap my brain around some of this. So it looks like the mobile dental clinics on project number 2, that they declined funding. Do we know why they declined funding?
They declined funding partly because of staffing changes, and they were also concerned about reporting requirements. And so they thought rather than moving forward, they would just withdraw their interest in funding.
Okay. And then on page, of my packet at least, on page 34 of the annual action plan, it says, the city also works with other members of the King County Consortium to conduct and participate in ongoing meetings with each other stakeholders, public housing authorities, including the King County Housing Authority, et cetera, et cetera. I just want to confirm that the King County Housing Authority is different than the King County Regional Homelessness Authority.
Yes, yes, it
Okay,
is.
because they're having some issues, and so I just wanted to confirm that that's separate thing. Okay, and then my third comment is just the African Community Housing and Development Small Business Support. We've funded them in the past before, right?
We have, yes.
Okay. Being new to the council, I just don't know anything about them, but I would love to know more about them. If they could be encouraged to just stop by at some point.
Sure.
That's something that I would like for anybody who's requesting funds to do, especially with, the council's changes, every few years. And so it's just nice to see people again and hear what they're doing. Particularly what I like to know is what they're working on and how the results are improving the lives of Federal Way residents.
I will be sure to reach out to them and ask them to
And
come next time.
I think all of the other ones I'm familiar with. Yeah, it's just that last one. Yeah.
Okay,
Thank
thank you.
Councilmember Seth Dawson.
Thank you. Thanks, Angelina. My questions are around, one is around unmet needs. And by the way, I work for King County Housing Authority, just so you know.
So you could have told me it was separate.
Totally different.
So you're
you.
okay.
I'm okay. And so, in looking at the, hold on. At the program categories, I don't know what to call them, right? Around housing, addressing homelessness, economic mobility, the goals.
The goals,
Yes.
yes.
So expanding economic opportunity, preserve affordable housing, prevent and address homelessness, and establish and maintain suitable living environments. So back to her question around the medical, Teams International. Were they going to provide medical or dental
They were
to
gonna provide-
people who were
Yes, they
experiencing
would've.
homelessness?
Mhm.
That's the team, okay. So that would have answered my question. And a lot of times, I do support Fusion and Habitat, but are they the only two organizations that continuously apply to maintain or rehab housing? Or are there other organizations that have applied and have not? And if that's the case, then what is it?
Right, Multi-Service Center, and this again predates me, but Multi-Service Center, a couple of years back, had also applied. It was for their Village Capri project. Unfortunately, that project did not move forward because it had environmental concerns. So Multi-Service Center has applied before. I think I know right now El Centro has applied to us, but that's for like their Mercado project. I have not seen anything that relates to affordable housing. So typically, it has been Habitat and it has been Fusion.
Yeah. So is El Centro's Mercado thing around expanding economic opportunities? maybe?
Yes.
Okay. So, yeah, so that's fine. And then El Centro's and ACHD's small business, what is the difference between small business support and TA? One's providing technical assistance and the other one's providing.
They're both similar. I mean, when you think of technical assistance, they're providing technical assistance to individuals who are either entrepreneurs or who want to become entrepreneurs. And small business development kind of, it's it's like an interchangeable, the way I see it, interchangeable terminology.
Yeah. So, but they're reaching different populations.
Yes, they are.
So I wanted to get to that actually in a way. And then with the Upwards Boosting Childcare Program, is that starting new childcare? Because I know we also do that through, what is it called?
No, it's
Imagine?
it's
Through
working
Imagine?
with, it's working with existing providers that they work with, and so providing them support in terms of knowing how to improve their business model, and also being able to provide them small grants that they can hire someone who can provide some measure of support to them in their home care setting.
So does that include upgrading, modifying, whatever, their daycare?
It's
not?
more in terms of when you think of like helping them as far as budgeting, knowing how to do budgets, knowing how to ensure that their business model is successful. It's those type of
Okay.
things.
Okay, all right. And then with the community outreach, hearing people's voices, I know we do have public, where you post a public comment date, public comment, and all that, but I wonder if there's a different mechanism or a different way of reaching out to the public, because there's so many amazing voices, if we had an opportunity to hear them on how to do this or how to support people in the low and moderate income. And I don't know what it is, I don't know how to, but I think if we could explore that, because you don't get a good response from the public except for posting, and then people don't come because maybe they don't read the paper, they don't see it down here. And so I'm just curious to see if we can explore other ways of getting that public input in addition to what we're required to do and what we do.
Sure, we'll take a look at that. Thank you for the suggestion.
Thank you.
Council President Honda.
Thank you. Thank you for being here tonight. Will the mobile dental clinic still then come to Federal Way?
I believe not, no.
So-
Because they are not coming to Federal Way, not at this time. They may decide to reapply in 2027, but at least for now, they are not going to be providing that service.
So is there a location that those who are getting services from them can get them in Federal Way?
That's a very good question, and I would have to check on that.
Was reporting so difficult that that's why they chose not to apply?
I think I'm going to have Layla, I'm going to call out to a friend, and I'm going to have Layla come up here and provide a little bit more details.
I mean, that's an important part of health care is dental care.
Just to provide a little insight on the Medical Teams International, they applied through our CDBG Public Service Funds. And at that time was also when HUD was experiencing some shortfalls, and they're shut down and unsure about funding opportunities, which Medical Teams International, they are directly located in the state of Oregon, and they travel, they have some team members that travel here to Washington and provide services. So they were in process of contracting with about 3 other cities in South King County. They were not able to successfully meet metrics in those cities, and were unsure with their capacity with internal staff transitions, if that would be the case here with Federal Way, in addition to the government shutdown that they received primarily majority of their funding from, and at that time didn't see that it would be a good opportunity, and didn't want to unsuccessfully service our residents at that time. So we have not entered into a contract with them. We're not funding them to support any Federal Way residents. We do have Health Point Dental that is providing services to our Federal Way residents, and under contract, they have been doing so for quite some time. I don't know the exact number of years off top, but in the future, we would hope that they would come back. We've expressed that we do like their model and encourage them to reapply when they see fit based off their capacity. And that's all that we can kind of answer to the Medical Teams International at this moment.
Okay. And why did we have funds from 2024 and 2025 to use? Why weren't they used in at least 2024?
We had, those funds were just still sitting there in our line of credit. I think, again, a lot of that has to do with either a project not moving forward, or environmental issues, or in the case of, medical teams being an example of an organization deciding that they are not going to accept funding. So as a result of that, the funds continue to sit in our line of credit for that year. The same would apply for 2025. But I can assure you
Yes.
that after we get through these funding rounds or funding years, when we think about 2027, we will not have prior year money. All
Okay.
this funding will be spent between now and before we start our new funding cycle in 2027.
It's just concerning to me that we have somehow been finding money from previous years to provide food or whatever, when the need has always been there. And we haven't been able to provide all the services we've wanted to in the past, and then we find, oh, there's money in this, so I would like to see the money spent because people need these services. And to hold on to money just is bothering me.
I completely understand. And I can assure you, in looking at the spreadsheet, that those funds for 24 and 25 are going to be spent. We will not have any prior year funding moving forward. And if anything, it's going to be a competitive competition, because when we do roll out for looking at 2027, all we're going to have is really the community development, the SURF funds, in addition to public service. So that's what we're going to be dealing with within that program year.
All right, thank you so much, I
You're
appreciate it.
welcome. Sure.
Councilmember Kochmar.
Thank you very much, Chair, and thank you, Angelina, for your hard work, and I know the Human Services worked very hard on deciding where this funding should go. And for the people that are listening at home, I just want to reiterate that the money, the $789,000, is really pass-through funds from the federal government. It's not coming from our budget, it's coming from the federal government. But that being said, I'm assuming that we have follow-through on how these funds are being spent and that they're being spent appropriately.
They will be. I mean, in terms of the process, as far as next steps, once we go through the public comment period, then we have to submit this annual action plan to HUD. HUD has to approve it. We have a deadline of August 14th that we need to have this annual action plan into their office before then, because if we don't meet that deadline, the city doesn't receive the funding.
Well, the action plan is one thing. I'm just talking about the actual on-the-ground resources to make sure that the people that are receiving the funds are actually using the funds for what they were intended for.
They will,
Yeah.
yes,
Okay.
correct.
Right, and I just want to make sure we're cognizant of that fact. And one other thing, on the Habitat for Humanity, I have referred people to that for the minor home repair, but now it all goes through Habitat for any people to apply for the...
Any people to apply for their minor home repair or critical home repair, yes.
Okay, and so how are we letting low-income people know that this money is available for them?
There's advertisement through Habitat, because we're contracting with Habitat. Habitat is ensuring that there is broad reach in terms of how people can access
Okay.
those services.
My suggestion really, and you might take this to the mayor, is to make sure we get that in the newsletter somehow so that our citizens know that they can go through us to get to Habitat, and that's where we have money available for them in our city. If I were a small homeowner and I'm an elderly person and I'm not with it as it is, because I'm talking about one individual that I'm thinking of, I'm not there yet, thank God. But the person, no, I mean mentally, I'm digging myself in a hole. It's
That's
getting
all
worse.
right.
So I'm just thinking, how would the family of that person know that money is available when they need a bathroom repair, or a roof repair, or something that's critical to that person being able to stay in their homes, that they know that they can call us and find out? I mean, they wouldn't think to call Habitat. I wouldn't if I were. I just think that we need to let people know that
That's fair,
we
and
need
I'm
some
happy
kind of
to,
advertisement.
happy to do that.
Yeah, thank you.
Coordinate.
We also updated our community resources page, which it wasn't on there before, but it is now. We
Okay.
have quite a few links of all the funded programs on our resource page. Habitat is on there.
Okay.
and with their contact information. Or if they contact Human Services, we will also direct them where to go.
Okay, will you also tell the mayor to put it in his newsletter?
Yes, yes, we will.
He may not do it, it's just a suggestion, but thank you.
I'm happy to take that forward.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Council President Honda.
Thank you. So last year, when I was helping a family and they needed a home repair, I had to have staff on the phone tell me how many clicks to get to the Habitat page. It was very, very difficult. I think it was 7 clicks. And I only knew where to start because I knew what department it should have been in. And then I had to call for help because I couldn't find it. Is it easier to find now on our webpage? If someone is looking for that?
I'd have to take a look. My guess is it may not be. It's probably the same number of clicks, to be
Oh.
quite frank. So we will look at that in terms of how to make that more user-friendly. Can also talk to the communications manager to see if we can even have a blurb that's like on the very front of the City of Federal Way's webpage. So we'll look at different options and
Okay.
so to help improve that reach for folks.
It was frustrating for me, and I was getting direct help from you guys, so I can't imagine someone who didn't have that help.
Yeah, Council President, I had the same problem. Yeah.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Is there a motion to approve the 2026 CDBG Annual Action Plan and move to the May 19th public hearing, business consent on June 16th, and then to council business on July 7th?
I move to forward the proposed 2026 Community Development Block Grant Annual Action Plan to the first public hearing on June 16th, 2026.
Second?
It has been moved and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. The motion has passed. We are going to bring back Ms. PC for a presentation on the strategic use of the CDBG SURF funds for eligible city-led projects for the next 10 minutes.
Thank you, Chair Sessoms. So the policy question before you today is, should City Council consider reserving a portion of eligible CDBG funds for city capital projects beginning in program year 2027 and in future years to support projects that would benefit the Federal Way community as a way to improve timely expenditure of CDBG funds? So just wanted to provide a bit of background as far as how funds have been used. For the last 5 years, over $3.8 million has been invested to support over 2,200 low to moderate income households. And CDBG funds has done a variety of things: small business assistance, housing repairs, critical and minor, facility improvements, rental assistance, and employment training. So I'm just trying to show you a bit of a comparison between what we received in 2025. It was around $788,336. And our current allocation is $789,015. So it's a difference of about $697. Not a huge difference, but you can at least see that it's similar in terms of where the funds go to. HUD's timely performance, just to provide some background, each year, around November 1st, the Housing and Urban Development reviews the city's CDBG funds. They look at total unspent funds in the line of credit across both current and prior program years. Their formula is that no more than 1.5 times the annual grant can remain unspent. HUD has a long-standing policy of reducing the next year's grant allocation of a grantee that continues to be untimely. In this case, we had a slight increase, but in 2024, from that allocation, it was around $813,000 to what we received in 2025. The difference was about $25,000, so there was a slight decrease. So what I've done is trying to provide you an example of what untimeliness looks like. So let's say, for example, that we have an annual CDBG grant allocation of $800,000. HUD does its test. It looks at, it's 1.5 times its test, so they multiply that by 800,000. And so now we're looking at about 1.2. What that means is HUD allows this to remain unspent within our line of credit on November 1st. And again, that's current and past program years. However, unfortunately, we have over 1.3 million in this example. that was unspent by November 1st. As a result, when you're subtracting those two numbers, we're over that limit by 152,000. And so when HUD looks at the ratio in terms of where we actually reside, it's at 1.69. So HUD would like us to be at 1.5, but this example shows that we're over by at a ratio of 1.69. And so you can see that on the chart to your, I don't know, it's to my right, maybe it's to your right as well, as far as the difference of where we should be but in actuality where we are. And the reason I'm sharing that is because in the next slide, you're going to see for the last 4 years that historically the city of Federal Way has been untimely. And you can see this before you. It's ranged anywhere between 2.23 in 2024, or in 2025 we were at 1.85, and then in 2023 we were at 1.79. So you can see the fluctuation in terms of where we have been at in the last 4 years as far as being untimely. So the questions that we wanted to ask is, we're seeking your feedback. Should the city consider allocating a portion of annual CDBG funds for city capital projects, let's say beginning in program year 2027? Or do you see this approach supporting community needs while improving timeliness use of funds if we look at this particular direction? So I'm going to stop there to see if you have any questions.
Councilmember Hamilton.
Can you go back to that very last slide that what you were asking us?
Sure. Whoops. So essentially, we're seeking feedback. This is sort of like an information session. We wanted to get your feedback on if we are looking at wanting to improve our timeliness, because part of the challenge can be is if projects are not ready to go, or if there are changes in transition of an organization, or if a project's not going to move forward for a variety of different reasons, that has an impact on our timeliness to be able to have the money spent. So one of the approaches that we're considering that we'd like you to provide feedback is, should the city consider allocating a portion of annual CDBG funds for city capital projects beginning in 2027?
And if I can just jump in for a second. So even though Angelina assured you in the last agenda item that we would always spend all our money every year, we can't guarantee that, right? Because the problem is, like with the dental services, we find out late that they're not going to take advantage of the contract that we are offering them. And this is a conversation we had at the Human Services Commission, which is, do we have enough time to pivot to a Plan B? And there's really not enough time to pivot to a Plan B and still meet the HUD reporting deadline of November 1st. So one of the reasons for this first question is, if there are project ready costs that the city has through capital projects that meet CDBG criteria, then that's a sure way to spend the money in a timely way, right? So we use CDBG money to pay for the barricades for the Festival Street where that farmer's market was, because it was already spent by the city and we could basically reimburse otherwise city cost. And so under this first bullet, if the council thinks that that's a good idea, then we would look for projects or capital expenditures that could basically substitute for maybe any contracts that didn't get executed.
Okay, thank you. That's helpful. And that helps me now, because I was kind of like trying to figure out what capital projects we were talking about. But it sounds like this is sort of, you're asking us if we would be supportive of like a Plan B so that we're not untimely and losing out on funds. I'm a little concerned that we've historically been untimely. That's just, we can do better. We shouldn't be untimely. And yeah, I would be supportive of a Plan B. That I'm assuming the Plan B would have to fall into the requirements of,
It would have to meet CDBG national
yeah,
objectives.
the standards of the homelessness or.
Exactly, or looking at low-to-mod income area benefit. Think of the Federal Way Civic Plaza, for example. You all just last month approved the amendment to the 2024 CDBG annual action plan so that we could spend about $196,000 in support of that project. So we'd have to look at projects that do meet CDBG national objectives, and that would require having conversations with, Parks Department, Public Works, in terms of seeing where that would fit in within that rubric.
Yeah, and I would be supportive of that, because in my opinion, it's better to have a Plan B than to give money back to the federal government or receive less money from the federal government.
Correct.
But also, I know that there's a lot of organizations out there that have never, I don't think they've ever applied for funding, or maybe they have and they don't always. And I don't know how we can get them to apply, but
We advertise pretty broadly. I think the challenge is, because they're federal funds, there's a lot of requirements that need to be met. Davis-Bacon, Section 3, different labor standards, there's a lot. Environmental reviews, you have to have an environmental review before you can even execute a project. And if a project is not ready, or if the environmental review comes back that it's not a categorically excluded project, that project cannot move forward, and we would have to terminate that contract. So there's all these different variables that happen, and some organizations, quite frankly, do not want to sort of go down that
They don't wanna
process
deal with
because
it.
of all the federal regulations that are required.
okay. Yeah, because one of the groups I'm thinking of in particular is Bridging a Gap with Valerie Danforth. They feed school children, and
But unfortunately, when we think about that, that's why I wanted to bring up this pie chart to you all again. We're able to successfully spend public service funds. And if you look at the pie chart for this year, we're looking at about $118,352. That's easy to spend. We're talking about capital projects, projects that require more time in terms of being able to move forward to be executed.
Okay, thank you. That's a good clarification. All right, that's all.
Councilmember Asefa Dawson.
Yeah, and I think this question might be for you, Keith. I wanted to ask about the Section 108 loan and the PAC. Are we on target? Because with this fluctuating CDBG funds that we get and not get and lose or whatever, are we on target, or how just
Wow.
curious?
I should know that, and I don't, so I apologize, council member. It has been a bit of time since, and I'm going to look over at either Autumn or EJ, and I don't know if either of you know the answer to that question. That
Okay.
may be a Steve Groom question.
That's a good question.
Let me track that down for you.
Okay.
But that might take a little bit of digging, so sorry.
No worries. Thank you.
Councilmember Coachmark.
We always used to have, thank you, Angelina, we always used to have a lot of requests for community development building grant projects, such as, something for the Boys and Girls Club for their gymnastic, whatever. I'm just wondering why you aren't getting as many. I'm not sure it has to do with the new regulations you're talking about, or?
I mean, quite frankly, it could be new regulations. As we know with the new administration, there are other requirements as far as reporting in terms of populations being served and how you report on that. It could be a variety of reasons. But again, that would fall under public services, not under the capital. If they were looking at wanting to purchase a property or something, or if they wanted to do small rehabilitation on a particular property, that would qualify. Or if they're doing something around small business development, like doing technical assistance or trying to help business entrepreneurs to build up their skills to start their own business, that would qualify. There's just certain requirements that the different fund requires.
Okay, I'm just concerned that we don't use these funds, there's so little, that we don't use those funds for a city project. I mean, it's too easy to, I want to use all the funds, but I certainly don't want to have it be easy to be used for a city project.
If I could interject one thing real quick on that note, I believe there's a legal cap on the public service at 15%.
Yes.
Right, so that's why that number is lower than the other numbers are. By law, we can't shift 20% of our CDBG funding towards the public services. That'd have to be where we tackle that through like our human services grant. So we're on the public service aspect of that, we've got a hard cap at 15%. And it sounds like, from what Angelina's saying, those aren't the funds that are the problem for the timeliness expenditures.
It's the capital projects, yes.
Councilmember Walsh.
Yeah, is there a way that with when the different things are being reviewed to begin with, that there can be and there's multiple applicants, that somebody can be a backup applicant, backup possibility from the start, and where the person who's being awarded it does not act expeditiously, that we could just go right to that backup one rather than having to have another plan B, have a plan B built in to begin with.
Sure, we could do that. We can do that as part of the annual action plan when it's being developed. We would allow for that flexibility. It would need to be embedded in there because that's something, again, the hub would need to approve. But it's possible.
Would it be practical?
Could be. We haven't tried it. It's something that we need to explore.
Okay, all right.
I'm sorry, I thought that's what we used to do. I thought we always had a backup plan.
A lot of this predates me, so I would have to go back and look at some of the files to see what was done in the past. But I haven't, based on some initial reviews, I haven't seen some of that, but can explore further.
I think the challenge with that could be, it might take months for them to determine whether or not they're going to use it, and by then, yeah, so.
Because, again, if you think about the Community Development Block Grant, it's one of those funds that has to be spent fairly quickly. It can't just sit. So just even us going through this process for 2026, for example, we're going to probably have contracts, I would imagine, and this is just projecting, executed possibly by end of August or September. That means that project has to be ready to go in order for us to be able to ensure that that organization is able to spend down, maybe not all the money, but most of it, so that we're not untimely. And it goes back to project readiness. There may be an organization that would like CDBG funds, but they need to assemble other funding if they want to have a project that they want to either rehab or purchase or new construction. It just depends on the situation and what they're looking for in terms of how the CDBG funds can benefit their particular project.
Council President Honda.
Thank you. So I'm going to read a sentence in the report. These funds are intended to support activities that primarily benefit low and moderate income populations while advancing broader community development objectives, including housing stability, economic opportunity, and neighborhood improvement. So initially, when I was going over this, I thought, we've been using other funds for city projects lately for the last few years, and it has been a source of concern to me because I don't want our budget to be depending on that kind of thing, because these different funds are set aside for different types of projects. And so when I read this, I am a little bit concerned about it. But what I'd like to ask is, if we had a project, we would then need to have the environmental review done before, so it's ready to go.
Yes.
And then the project that we would move forward using these funds, if they were available, that project, if it's gone through an environmental review, we've probably already been looking at ways to fund it, correct?
I would imagine so, yes.
And it's either not funded or not fully funded to move forward. So would something like this, if there was money available for a city project, could it be an inclusive park? Could it be a senior center?
That's what we would have to work out with the Parks Department, with Public Works, in terms of what they have determined how these funds could potentially be used. We need to have that conversation with them, but just keeping in mind that it has to, whatever it is, has to meet the CDBG national objectives.
Right.
Whether it's limited clientele, whether it's low mod income, whether it's low mod area benefit, there's there's at least 4 different categories that are required, and that we have to meet one of those categories.
I mean, I think using the money that we recently used to buy the barriers was really a stretch, in my opinion. Really, it was, just in my opinion. Whereas, you know, we had already passed that. We had already said yes to that, and money I thought had already been spent on it, and then we come back and we're going to use this kind of money for it. So, if indeed this is expected in the future that there might be funding from this program available for a city-led project, I think we need to have a conversation about what would be more appropriate than buying barriers for a street.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Councilmember Moore.
Thank you so much, Chair Sessions. You're obviously looking for an answer, and that's, you know, the first bullet point or the second bullet point. And I think for me, I would like to see, I'm more interested in the second bullet point, which is supporting community needs while improving timely use of funds. And that's what your question was, right?
2 questions, yes.
Yeah. Which one would you prefer? Is that right?
Not so much prefer, but would you see, it's like the first then ties into the second question. Because if we are looking at this as an option and having an opportunity to explore it with other department colleagues, then we want to ensure that that approach is supporting community needs while we're improving timeliness. So it's sort of like we see them as one after the other.
Oh, I see. Okay. I appreciate that clarification again. So, okay, well, I think, thank you.
Councilmember Walsh.
Yeah. When grant applications are being reviewed by staff and by the Human Services Commission, is project readiness being looked at and considered at that time?
Yes, yes, it is.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Welcome.
All right. Well, thank you very much, Ms. PC.
You're welcome.
Moving.
Could you go over your last slide? It said next steps. Would you mind?
I do not. Let me see.
Is that all right, Chair?
Pull that back.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And can I simply say, did we answer your question?
So I think so this was an informational agenda item. And so, like, if the general feeling of the council is, let's have another conversation about exploring this city capital projects idea as possibly something we have as a plan B, then I think Angelina will talk to John and EJ, get a list of potential projects. So whether it includes an inclusive park or adding a toy or something to a park that doesn't have one, or does something else that meets CDBG requirements, I think the next step, if you guys want a next step, is we'd come back and give you some examples of what some of those city projects could be, which then might help this conversation move more towards whether we start to do that or not moving forward. I think that was the goal of tonight, was to see if there's at least a warm reception to have another conversation, which might be a little bit more detail-oriented.
Yeah, and Chair, if it's okay. Keith, thank you for that, because I would support that. Because I want to make sure, obviously, it aligns with the CDBG use. And I will echo the words of my colleague to Council President, and which is, I'm very curious to see how does this line up to building a senior center. Does this, would a youth center also meet that criteria? I don't know, but it's some stuff to explore. And I think as a council, I know we want to dive a little bit deeper into that. So, but obviously, on the other hand, I want to see it more towards programs and whatnot. Yeah, thank you.
I have.
Chair.
Council President.
I think the one item I would like to leave you with is these funds should be, in my opinion, used for those who apply for them, because that's really what they're given to us for, not to do a city-led project. So,
I understand, but I also can share with you that other cities use these CDBG funds for that very purpose as well, for city projects that do support community needs. You could think of it like in terms of ADA accessibilities, you could think of certain sidewalks or different types of parks equipments. I mean, there's a variety of different ways I think that could be beneficial, not only in terms of spending the money and being timely, but also how it can support the community at large.
so then would those projects, would you recommend that they go through the Human Services Commission to be graded and,
The interesting thing about that is that city projects don't have to go through competition.
I understand that, but just to get more opinions on,
We could do that. That would be something we can do.
And Chair, just to be clear, in looking at my notes, in 2010, 2011, 2014, we did use CDBG money for projects. So 2010 was streetlights at Belmore, 2011 was streetlights at Camelot, and 2014 was bus shelters at Camelot and 2 other apartment complexes that were in association with King County Housing Authority. So this has been done historically by Federal Way. It's been obviously a lot of years, but we have had multiple projects that have done exactly what's being proposed tonight.
Good. Thank you for that, Mr. Walsh. Thank you, Ms.
Thank you, Chair Sessoms. I just want to be clear before I close this slide out. Are you all supportive of us moving forward and at least exploring the opportunity with our Parks Department and Public Works colleagues? And then coming back to you at a future date? Okay, I see some thumbs up.
No, yes.
Yeah.
Okay, that's what I needed to know. Thank you very much.
Can I make one more comment?
Yes.
To respond to Council President's comment, I want to, when it comes to like slum and blight areas and economic opportunity zone, nonprofits are not going to do that. That still is our city project. So I think if we limit city from not doing that kind of work, then it won't get done. So I think I support for city staff to continue things the way they're being done, because otherwise those projects or programs would be not funded, and we'll miss out on having it done. So just my comment on that.
All right, last comment?
And I'm assuming that you will be coming back to us for approval before you spend that money.
Absolutely, yes.
Great. Great.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. All right, now we are going to discuss the rejection of RFP submission and authorization to resolicit project, City Hall elevator modernization. Ms. Oriolana, welcome.
Thank you. Yes, so the subject is the rejection of request for bid, RFP submission, and authorization to resolicit project City Hall elevator modernization. And before I continue, greetings, Council President Honda, Committee Chair Sessoms, and committee and council members. The policy question is, should council authorize staff to reject RFP submission for the City Hall elevator modernization and authorize staff to resolicit? Financial impacts. The city has budgeted $160,000 within the approved 303 Parks Capital Improvements Project account for the City Hall elevator modernization project. The one bid received came in $140,000 over the available budget. Background information. The City Hall elevator needs repair and modernization. The elevator is original to the building and it is over 30 years old. The city has been experiencing intermittent control issues, and it needs to be repaired so that it meets current elevator and electrical codes. The original RFP closed on March 23rd with one submission, and it has been determined the scope of the project needs to be revised to move forward, and it is in the best interest of the city to reject the current RFP and to resolicit. We have two options to be considered. Authorize staff to reject RFB submission for the City Hall elevator project and authorize staff to resolicit. 2, do not approve staff to reject RFB submission or to resolicit project and provide direction to staff. And the mayor's recommendation is option 1. Thank you.
Councilmember Asefa Dawson.
Yeah, thank you. My question is simple. How soon can we get it done? Because last week, for the first time, we experienced where the elevator was not working, and it was not good. So for people like me, I do need it, so I'm afraid this, I don't know why it happened, and I don't know if it's going to happen again. So can we, I don't know if it could be expedited, but I think it's really urgent now.
It has moved up in our prioritization, so yes, we're working on that right now.
Councilmember Hamilton.
So we determined the scope of the project needs to be revised. Does that mean that the budget needs to go up for it as well?
That is correct. Both will be updated.
Okay. Thank you.
Council President Honda.
Thank you. So what is the timeline? Because last year I saw the elevator fail to work when we had a mom and a little child on it. And it wasn't working last week at the end of the council meeting. So is the timeline quick? Are we going to, how long will it take to get the work done?
It has moved up to our priority. Our aim is for this summer when there will be less, less conflicts with meetings. So the goal is for this summer.
So August?
August is an option, yes.
All right. It seems a long way away, but
It's a process.
it is what it is, yeah. Thank you.
All right. Can I get a motion to authorize staff to reject the RFB submission for City Hall elevator project and authorize staff to resolicit?
I move to forward option 1 to the May 19, 2026 consent agenda for approval.
Can I get a second?
Second?
It has been moved and seconded for option 1 and moved to the May 19th council consent agenda. All in favor, say aye.
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 Thank you.
All right. Next, we are going to have Ms. Stacia Winters provide us a PAC update.
Good evening. I can't find the mouse.
It was
Okay.
good. It was good seeing you at Step Africa the other night.
Oh, yes, absolutely. It was fantastic. Good evening, Chair Sessoms, Council President Honda, and committee and council members. Thank you so much for being here, for having me tonight. I guess you're always here. I'm Stacia Winters, the General Manager at the Federal Way Performing Arts and Event Center, and I'm here for the Q1 update. I would like to thank you all. I've seen many of you at some recent events, including Step Africa the other night, and also today at the Senior Health and Resource Fair, which was awesome to see so many of you there. So for Q1, we had 13,700 people attend events here at the PAC. That is an increase from 2025 of a little over 3,000 people from last year at this time. For theater tickets sold, we had 7,000 theater tickets sold this year. This is a 3,000 ticket increase, so almost double what we did last time at this year. We were very busy with concerts in March. For our usage days in January, we had 17 usage days. Here's kind of a layout. The green is the theater usage days, and the blue is our meeting room usage days. An event highlight that I wanted to talk about from January was our MLK Day celebration with the Diversity Commission that puts that on at the PAC every year. This year was an excellent one. They had a lot of really cool performers. They had a lot more performers than they have in the past, which I thought was very fun and very diverse performers, which was very fun to have them out for. In February, we had 19 usage days. This was down a little bit from about 7 days from 2025. However, we actually made about the same amount as far as events. So we just had higher profit events in February this year than we did last year, which is great to see for us. Something I wanted to highlight from February was our 4th annual Black Equity Ball with the Black Homeowners Association, which was a very cool event. It was one of those events that they really transformed the PAC. It looked completely different. If you walked in there, you would not recognize it, which it's always really fun to see those come through and see the possibilities that can be done. They had a big gala out in the lobby and meeting room space, but they also did a live podcast where they were interviewing people about their experiences on the stage as well. So they were really utilizing every place in the PAC, which was really fun. In March, we had 29 usage days. This is an increase from 24 in 2025. We were extremely busy in March. We had a lot going on. We had a lot of concerts. We also did multiple events and concerts with the Arts Foundation Federal Way, from our Arts for Youth things to the U.S. Army Jazz Ambassadors, and the Federal Way Public School District concert was in March as well, which was an excellent event again. One of the highlights from that is the U.S. Army Jazz Ambassadors. We did have over 500 people attend this event. It was very successful. They loved being here, and it was very fun. This is a completely free event, thanks to Arts Foundation Federal Way. They helped sponsor it so that we were able to have it completely free to the community. Another thing I want to highlight, in March we had 4 Arts for Youth workshops. We started this year. This is in conjunction with our PAC Presents shows. Anytime I have a professional artist that we have hired to come and do a concert at the PAC, I'm trying to put in an Arts for Youth workshop into it for our middle school and high school age kids, that maybe it's hard to get them out to come see a show like we are able to with elementary kids, but what's a way that we can still impact them? So a couple of the things that we did this year, we had Mariachi Herencia there, and they did a workshop with Federal Way High School, which was an excellent workshop. And then for the U.S. Army Jazz Band Ambassadors, Decatur High School, there were 5 students from Decatur that were actually able to perform on stage with U.S. Jazz Band. For our Voctive concert, which is an a cappella choir group, the Lakota Middle School was able to come and do an hour-long workshop and coaching session with their director and get feedback from him and tips, and it was really cool to see them all work with him. And then for Rhythm of the Dance, which is the Irish dance company we had come through in March, they did a workshop with the local fire and ice dance company. They came out, they had about 20 youth dancers who came and did a dance workshop with the professional artists that were there for Rhythm of the Dance. So it's been a really cool month, really cool year, but a lot of them happened to happen in March. So it was a really fun month to see all those kids get impacted by that. Our total usage days for year to date was 65 usage days of the 3 months we've done so far. This is the breakdown of our revenue. This is a little bit more broken out than it has been in the past. We kind of revamped how it goes so that you can see a little bit more in detail. So for ticket and fee revenue, year to date so far, we've done $123,000. This is about double what we did last year. Something to note about what is going into this ticket and fee revenue, this is just the tickets and the ticket fees that are maintained by the PAC. So any rental concerts or anything that are going in here are not necessarily included in this number because we don't keep those ticket funds. That goes back to the promoter. So that's not included. This is truly what the PAC keeps in our books. Rental revenue was $239,000, obviously an increase again. Food and beverage revenue, $143,000. Ancillary revenues, this is kind of merchandise, vendor fees, kind of extra ancillary revenues that are towards events that don't fit into these other categories. That was about $2,000, a little bit slower on that. And then sponsorship revenue has increased largely from up to $20,000 from $3,000. We've had a lot of great sponsorship efforts from our partnerships manager this last year. And other revenue, $1,400. That's like bank interest and some other kind of miscellaneous revenues that don't fit into events or sponsorships. So for total, we've done $530,000 in revenue so far this year. Our event operating income, as a reminder, this is event revenues minus event expenses. So Q1 so far this year has been $103,000 in event operating income. This is an increase from $86,000 at this time last year. And then financials year to date, like I said, $530,000 in revenue. Total event expenses have been $415,000 with total operating expenses at $409,000 for a total investment into the PAC so far this year of $294,000. A few recent Google reviews that I'll kind of go through quickly. I won't read the whole thing, but I thought were awesome. We recently had a work event here. The staff was professional, friendly, and helpful throughout the event. The venue is well organized and comfortable, which made our event run smoothly. It's a solid, well-managed space for professional events. Another said, it's a great place to relax, hear good sounds, and watch a great show. Also, the personnel are the finest. Friendly, happy, and knowledgeable. Another said, it's a cool venue, very clean, employees are very kind, and there isn't a bad seat in the house, which is my favorite thing to hear, is that nobody ever has a bad seat for a concert. Another client feedback directly from one of our clients that did a luncheon there recently said, thank you for everything you do to help with our events. I know you're all so busy, so it's great that you're so hands-on with everything, and it's genuinely appreciated. Please extend my thank you to the full staff, from the box office to the service team and the AV team. Everyone is not only great at what they do, but they are a genuine pleasure to be around. For our goals this year, we are tracking pretty well so far. So these are our revenue generation goals. Every year, we are expected per our contract with the city to meet certain goals. Specifically at our revenue generation, we do have to increase our revenue generation in each of these categories by 2.5%. So ticket revenue, as of right now, we're about 30% of the way to our goal. And as of right now, I'm projecting about 80. I'm still working on booking fall shows, so I do anticipate that we will hopefully hit that goal. I think we'll definitely get very close, but of course, I'm always pushing for more concerts to hit that. For event space rental revenue, as of right now, with everything we have in the books, we are very close to hitting that. We're already about 25% of the way there, and I do expect us to hit that with what we have in our books so far. Theater rental revenue, a little bit slower. We're about 18% right now, and hitting about 85% with my projections. But like I said, I'm still pushing a lot of concerts for the fall, so I do anticipate that that will catch up as well. Food and beverage revenue, we're about 25% of the way there. And I do anticipate that that will hit, especially with concerts. Our food and beverage revenue also increases. So I do expect all of those to get close, but right now we're hitting about 80 to 90% of our goal with what we have booked. For attendance, our attendance increase every year is also an increase of 5% every year. So our goal this year is 50,000 people through the building, a little over 50,000 people through the building. We're about 25% of the way there, 27, I believe. Oh, 31, perfect. And as of right now, with what I'm tracking for the events we have, we're hitting at about 88%. So still booking for the fall as well there. Usage days, we are already about 25% of the way there. With our usage days already in, I am estimating about 250 booked days already. Our goal is 280, so we have 30 more days to fill for the end of the year. And then free community events, we have not had one quite yet. We have been putting a lot of effort behind kicking it and all of our energies there, but we do have a number of community events planned for the rest of the year, and our free summer movie series also happening this summer, and we will fulfill that goal with those. And then we also have another goal, which is different types of events. So every year we are supposed to hold 6 Arts for Youth events annually. As of March, we have held 2, and we have 3 more contracted and are still working on our next year. I do anticipate us hitting this goal. For nonprofit events, we're supposed to hold 10 annually. So far, we've held 2, and we have 12 more contracted, so we will surpass that goal. Banquets, meetings, and conferences, we're supposed to hold 50 annually, and we have held 13 so far, which is about 25%, but we have 30 more contracted, so we're about 6 short so far, but I anticipate that that will hit its goal as well. And then weddings, our wedding business has blown up, which is fantastic to see. We're supposed to hold 4 of those annually. Last year we did hold 4. So far we've held 1. We have 4 more contracted, and we have 3 more that have estimates out and are working down the path of hopefully also moving on. So we're planning to have a lot of weddings this year, which is exciting. And then just a few upcoming events to let you guys all know about. This Saturday, we do have the Federal Way Chorale is performing their final concert for their season. It's going to be excellent. It's at 7 p.m. on Saturday. And then May 29th to the 31st is Arts Explosion is coming up. It's going to be another great event. We're really excited. I know they even have more artists than they have in the past, so excited to see the pack get filled up with art again. We also have Sleeping Beauty is happening at the same time as Arts Explosion, so if you're coming to see the art and want to see a local ballet as well, they're going to be performing on Saturday night and Sunday afternoon. as well as a local dance company is also doing a show called Reflections on June 5th. And then, of course, I always have to plug it. Kicking It Federal Way is coming up. It's going to be an amazing festival. We've got a lot of things coming. I know last week they announced some of our headliners for the music festival, and we're announcing more this week and next week. It's coming to be a really awesome lineup, and we're really excited for everything that the festival is going to bring. And with that, I am happy to take any questions.
Councilmember Asefa Dawson.
Thank you. When you were comparing the year-to-date for 2026 and then the 2025?
Yeah.
Was that also year-to-date for 25, or was it for the whole year?
It's year to date for 25, yeah.
Okay, so
This
we're,
one?
okay.
If it goes back.
Keep going.
Oh,
One more.
this one? Yeah, so
Yeah.
that's versus 25 as of
Same
March.
time.
Correct,
Okay.
yep.
First quarter.
Yes,
Okay.
correct.
And then, Kicking It Federal Way?
Yeah.
It's a free event, but are the concerts and all those inside, or are all those out, or what's? How does that-
So the main stage for concerts is going to be outside. It's actually going to be on that Civic Plaza.
Yeah.
About half of that is going to be used for soccer clinics and things, and then the other half is all for concerts and enjoying the music. Everything at the festival is completely free except for food and beverage. So the concerts, seeing the games inside, the carnival, the soccer clinics, everything happening at the festival is completely free except for purchasing food and beverage.
So nothing happens inside the pack?
We're streaming all the games, but we're focusing that just on having all of the games, so you can come watch the games inside of the pack.
Inside?
Mhm. But other than that, we're not doing anything really in the lobby. Just that way it's kind of, I anticipate it being kind of a gathering place to get out of the heat and stuff. So we're trying not to pack too much stuff in there so there's room for people.
We hope
So
we
do you
have
think
heat.
there's enough room
Yeah, I do.
inside the auditorium?
There's a possibility that we fill up. I hope that we have so much interest that we fill up. We have a plan. We're going to be handing out wristbands as sort of like your ticket in, but it'll be first come, first serve into the pack. We also are into the theater. We also are going to have the meeting rooms are going to be set up as a little restaurant that you can reserve tables ahead of time. That'll be going out shortly, that people can start reserving their tables if they want to watch a game and get some lunch or some dinner inside there. And then we are also trying to get potentially some TVs into the beer garden area so that there's some additional. So we're trying to have it available for people to watch as many places as possible.
Thank you.
Yeah, of course.
Councilmember Hamilton.
Thank you, Stacia, for the report. I always love, this is my favorite report now.
Thank you, that's so kind.
And I've gone to several events now at the PAC, at different concerts, and they're always great. I'm curious, though, I haven't seen it yet. What is the band lineup that's come out so far?
Ooh, so as of right now that we have announced, I don't have it in front of me, so now my brain's like, what are we doing? So the headliner for Friday is the National Parks. They're an indie band. They're really excellent. The headliner for Saturday is Leo Brooks. The headliner for Sunday is Jamie Wyatt. She's kind of a country folk artist originally from Tacoma. So those are our headliners. Some of our other artists, there's so many of them, and I'm now blanking on them. But they're all, I know Allie was out on vacation, who updates our website, and they are working to get the website up to date. So that should be up to date shortly. We have about, I want to say, 15 artists confirmed so far, and some of those are local community groups as well. And I'm still working on confirming a few more, but there's going to be 10 performances with different artists per day.
Okay. And then are they performing, where exactly are they performing at the event?
So I wish I had a map. I'll bring in a map next time. Actually, that'll be after. Anyways, it'll be great. But so where the Civic Plaza is and the flagpole, the stage is going to be right at the edge of the lawn before the flagpole.
Okay.
So they'll be performing to the Civic Plaza, and there's going to be chairs and picnic tables and things set up on the new turf on the Civic Plaza for people to sit and enjoy the music.
That's what I was wondering, because I was thinking if it was going to be like in the auditorium, your seats there,
Yeah.
people tend to want to, jump around and.
Yeah, no. It's all going to be outside. The auditorium is strictly for streaming the FIFA games.
For the games. Okay. I would love it if you got an 80s band.
There is one.
Just saying.
I'm pretty sure
Awesome.
there is one. Now I'm questioning myself, but I'm pretty sure there is
Awesome.
one.
Well, thank you.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then, quick shameless plug, the Kick It FW website, we have put a map on there and it's interactive.
Yes.
So you guys will be able to see here in the next week or so what bands are coming, what each section has, even what carnival games and rides are in there, and kind of see them moving around. So.
Great. Council President.
Thank you. Naming rights, how's that going?
We are actively working on it every day. There's some exciting stuff out there happening right now. I don't have a full update right now that I can give on a public forum to protect our negotiations, but there are things that we're actively working on every day.
So do we anticipate naming someone will step forward in 2026?
I am actively working on some stuff every day, but I don't.
I ask every month because
Yes.
we've been asking for,
Yep.
before it was built. So.
Yep, absolutely.
The ballet that's mentioned, the Sleeping Beauty, excuse me, is that a recital or is that an actual performance with tickets sold?
It is an actual performance with tickets sold. It's the Adage Ballet Academy. So they are a local, I want to say.
Are they out of Renton?
I believe so, yeah. So yeah, it's an actual performance. They're performing the second, it's Aurora's Wedding. It's the second half of the Sleeping Beauty Ballet.
Okay. And then the Reflections, is that a recital or do you have any dance school recitals at the PAC?
So we have the Evergreen City Ballet is in June. I believe their tickets for their recital are going up next week. Evergreen City Ballet. And then I'm actually working with Children's Dance Theater on contracts for them for next year for their multiple of their performances and their end of year recital next year. So,
Okay.
yes.
And my last well, first of all, thank you for today. I don't want to forget that. Thank you for your help, and I saw you keeping the water and the tea and coffee filled. Thank you so much. I really do appreciate that. Young children's concerts. I know that in other theaters, there are young children's concerts. Parents will pay a significant amount of money to take their young child to a concert. Have you reached out? Have you been trying to get something like that?
Yes, we did Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer musical last year. Nothing kind of worked out for this year, but I am hoping, I actually am working on 2 for next year, hoping that at least one of them works out. They're very expensive and very hard to make sense, especially knowing our community and where we want kind of ticket prices to be for our community. I'm really trying to get in contact with more promoters that might come in and rent the facility, and that would make a little more sense for us financially to make them happen. But it is something I'm considering, and I believe we're going to have at least one on our PAC Presents season next year. But I'm also am trying to work with some more promoters to bring more family content through.
Okay. And the chorale, what time does their show start? My husband told me it was at 6, but you just said 7?
Doors are at 6.
Okay.
The show's at 7.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, absolutely.
Councilmember Kochmar.
I'm just wondering, thank you, Stacia.
Of course.
I'm just wondering, are you going to have some kind of a handout or for social media, some kind of a link to where people can find out the information per day?
Yes.
Especially what time the soccer games are going to be played and they can go inside to watch them.
Yep, so that is all at kickitfw.com. And we have flyers and stuff all over the PAC for anybody who is interested. We also have all sorts of social media stuff and everything going out. Like I said, Allie, I know, just got back from vacation, but we're working on getting the games and the music festival very quickly updated onto that website.
So I know it's on the website, but are you going to put it on social media?
Yeah, oh yeah, yes.
Okay, so that they can click and go to the website or
Correct,
whatever,
yep.
because a lot of people don't think to go to the website,
Yeah.
but they're on social media a lot.
Yeah, all of that is being slowly distributed out through not only the Citywide newsletter. Every week there's kind of a different highlight that's going out on something different on the festival, whether it's the music festival or what games are being played when, but also through the cities and the PAC's social media pretty regularly.
Okay, and I've had some folks tell me that there's going to be at the community center, they're going to actually have a dance where they teach people how to dance. Art Murray is going to teach people. Are you going to do anything like that at the at this event, or? were
We don't
those
have
events
anything
staged?
specific like that that's planned. There is one community group that I haven't fully confirmed yet. We're still working through the time details, but they have there's one or two that have more interactive where they kind of invite people to do dance and stuff with them and teaching them. But as far as like a really structured, we don't have that.
Okay.
as part of
So
this.
maybe you could have the handouts at City Hall, or give the
Yeah.
handouts to, we just need to disperse them.
Absolutely.
Maybe at the community center, or at the entrance to City Hall, or just, a lot of people don't think to get on a website.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Councilmember Walsh.
Stacia, great job, great job. I'm really impressed with the job that you're doing. I particularly like the, getting some of the visiting artists to do workshops with the youth. That is fantastic. I remember when I was in high school and had workshops, choral workshops, and it
Yeah.
was just, I mean, just highlights. So thank you very much for doing
Absolutely.
that. With the council president was asking about youth dance recitals and things like that. Have you approached Pacific Ballroom Dance about their annual event?
Not, but let me write that down. That's a great idea.
It's an organization originally started here in it's South King County. The originators were here in Federal Way.
Awesome.
But they, now they have a studio down near the Super Mall in
Okay,
Auburn.
yeah, yeah.
But a lot of students from, all over South King
Yeah.
County. But
No, that's awesome. Yeah, I'll reach out to them and learn a little bit more about that.
All
That's
right.
great.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Councilmember Moore.
Thank you so much. Stacia, you forgot to mention one of the upcoming shows.
Oh, did I?
Yes.
What did I forget?
It is, I'm glad you asked. It is Jane Lynch and
Oh,
Kate
yes.
Flannery.
Yes. I hadn't mentioned them yet because they're a little further out. I usually only try to do like the next
I couldn't
3 or
resist.
4, but we do have Jane Lynch and Kate Flannery coming in August.
August
Very
26th, I
excited,
believe,
yes.
and this is where we will be spending our 10th anniversary
Oh, excellent.
at the
Great.
PAC.
Well, we're happy to have you.
Exactly, and so I'm really excited for big names like this to be coming into the PAC, and I'm really thrilled for that. And I just again want to echo the words of my colleagues. I mean, you're doing great work. I'm glad to see that there's something percolating with discussions on the naming rights.
Yes.
That's been in the works since day one. And so that, I'm very, very pleased with that, and I mean, I just was kind of curious if we could do like an executive session on that, I don't know, so that way it can kind of calm some of my, colleagues' minds, and just, that way we know, the more we know, the better, kind of.
If we got like far enough down the line, it is
Perfect.
something that obviously for negotiation purposes, we really do try to keep pretty
Yes.
protected.
Of course.
But obviously, before anything went
Yeah.
final, it would come to you guys to be
Indeed.
aware, correct?
Indeed. Yeah, I was just kind of thinking the more that we're informed, the better, but I understand what you're
Yeah.
saying exactly. So, but I just want to say thank you all around. I mean, it's just great work.
Thank you. Thank you very
Truly.
much.
Quick question for me. What type of event is the event on June 13th? WNBF. What does
Okay, I
that
was like,
stand
ooh,
for?
I don't know. That's a bodybuilding competition.
Bodybuilding.
Yeah.
Okay.
We do
great.
about 4 or 5 of them a year at the PAC.
Okay. And then, before I let you go, compliments to one of your staff, Joyce. I
Oh,
believe.
yes, yeah.
Always the consummate professional with her greeting, and, she knows me by name, she knows my wife by name, and always so attentive. So
Thank you. I'll
give her
pass
our
that on.
best, please.
Absolutely. She is incredible.
I'll second that.
Awesome.
And thank you so much for your presentation. Next up, we are going to hear from Autumn Brissett.
Good evening.
Hey, Chair. Just so that everybody knows, and I'll need to leave at about 7:20, so if you see me walking out, it's not that I got mad at you or anything.
I will
so
try to make this quick for you.
Thank you, Councilmember.
All right, thank you for your patience. Good evening, Chair Sessoms, Council Member or Council President Honda, Committee and Council Members. Autumn Gressett, Contract Administrator for the Parks Department. This evening, I will like to discuss the OVG 360 qualitative and quantitative incentive with you. A little bit of background information is in our contract, sections 3.2 and 3.3, we do have provisions for an annual incentive fee based off of specific performance metrics. The policy question before you is, should the City Council approve the Global Spectrum LP OVG 360 2025 incentive fee in the amount of $37,263.54 and authorize staff to remit payment? The qualitative component of this section includes up to $10,000, and it's based on the city's evaluation of performance in 5 specific areas which were negotiated when we negotiated the contract with OVG early on. Those include revenue generation and attendance. Revenue generation, they needed to increase by 2.5%. They exceeded that and therefore received $2,000 in that category. Attendance also had to see a growth rate of at least 2.5%, which would have brought them to 39,059. They actually exceeded and had 48,117 attendees at events this last year. Usage days was required to go from 217 to 222. They exceeded that growth and had 271 events in 2025. And free community events, a minimum of 5 free community events that are fully sponsored by outside organizations. They exceeded that goal and held 9 free events. And then types of events, 4 weddings, 50 banquets and meetings, 10 nonprofit events, and 6 arts for youth. Again, exceeding their goals and meeting the full $2,000 for this category. Total qualitative component would be $10,000. Under their quantitative component, stipulates that the manager shall be paid 20% of the amount by which the actual net operating income loss exceeds the net operating benchmark. And there's no cap on this amount, and it is funded by the savings that we would have from that subsidy. The benchmark for 2025 was $1,035,164. The actual net loss was $914,545, leaving them ahead by $120,619 and a 20% share of $24,124. The commercial rights component of their incentive gives them 15% of revenue earned from commercial rights, and there's no cap on the amount that can be earned in this component. 2025, they had $20,931.74 in commercial rights, giving a 15% share of $3,139.74. Total compensation for 2025 fiscal year incentive would be $10,000 in the qualitative component, $24,124 in the quantitative component, and $3,139.74 for commercial rights, for a total payment to OVG 360 for fiscal year 2025 being $37,263.54. The options considered this evening are approve the proposed incentive fee and authorize staff to remit payment. Do not approve the proposed incentive fee and provide direction. And the mayor's recommendation is option 1. And happy to go over any of these details with you.
Council President.
Thank you. So can we go back to the slide where it shows, yes, that one. So my first question is a 2.5% increase in the previous slides. That seems like a rather low number to achieve. Where did that number come from?
That number was negotiated when we were looking at what their previous incentive qualifications would have been, and we wanted them to be moving forward, being that we had made significant strides not only in the amount of usage days and events and revenue. We didn't want to push so hard that they were unattainable, because that's unfair, and we didn't want them to be so low that it was easy. 2.5% when you run it across an amortized 5 or 10 years, and you compound that every single year, is a very aggressive goal to get to, especially considering that you have to have some buffer days to allow for staff time off. You maximize at certain food and beverage capacities, and so 2.5% was actually fairly aggressive when we looked at how that would compound over their 5-year contract.
So what would it look if it was at 4%?
Obviously higher and likely unattainable potentially, depending on how much capacity. It would mean, the other thing that we took into consideration is If we pushed that hard, would it mean that prices increase and therefore our patrons and our community are not receiving the accessible building that they want? And so finding that balance between the two of keeping prices fair and reasonable and also pushing our management company to continue to grow.
So the Showware Center, I know they have a contract. Do they have an incentive program like this also?
They have an incentive program. It changed a couple of years ago. I would have to go review their contract. I don't know it off the top of my head. But they also have a 25-year contract with the city, with the hockey team and everything. And their incentive goals are based off of different metrics. But I can look at that and get that contract over to you if you wanted to review it.
I'd just be interested in seeing the differences.
Of course.
You know, and I think that I'm at the PAC fairly often, it seems like.
Yeah.
And I like the way it's being run. I like the way that things are happening. But, you know, there's still a net loss. And yet they're getting an incentive payment, which is, what, $34,000 or something?
Correct. And part of that incentive isn't coming out of it's coming out of the amount that they saved. It's not over and above what was already pre-approved in the budget for the Performing Arts and Event Center. And that building will likely always have a loss. It's something that we've discussed over the past few years, especially as we've come out of COVID. And as we've grown and they're pushing maximum capacity, most of these venues across, in fact, almost all of these venues across the country operate at some sort of subsidy or loss, depending on how much they're given. It's grants that are supplementing, it's city funds. All of them are made up a little bit differently, but none of them are generating all of their revenue to show in the black.
So does this incentive payment actually go to the employees that work there, or does it go to the management company?
The incentive payment gets paid directly to the management company.
So do the employees get any benefit from it?
I don't know if there is any benefit to the employee, whatever their employment agreement would be between OVG and their employees. And it's not something that I would see.
Okay, thank you.
Councilmember Walsh.
Well, with what you're saying, I certainly hope that some of it goes to the employees. I hope that OVG is taking care of them well. With that being said, I mean, that there certainly needs to be the balance.
Of course.
The absolute balance with that. My one concern with 2.5% is that's actually a little bit less than the inflation rate. And so just with the inflation rate, there's going to be, that there should be an increase just with the inflation rate. And so it seems like that there definitely needs to be a balance, but it seems like that it should be set a little bit higher than that to at least keep up with inflation and perhaps, make a little progress past inflation.
And it's certainly something as we negotiate potentially their next term contract, we could look at adjusting those. But again, when we negotiated this last time, we looked at that out over 5 years and heavily considered how higher would impact the community and the price points within there, even from ticket pricing to food and beverage. And they have some of the most comparable, competitive pricing throughout, based off of other venues. And that was important, not only, I think, to the council and to everybody in the community, but also we didn't want them to rest on their laurels, right, and just have the same thing every year.
Okay.
But I think through the next one, having an executive session wouldn't be something out of the question and talk about it.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Is there a motion to approve the 2026 OVG 360 qualitative and quantitative incentive and move to the May 19th consent agenda?
I move to forward the proposed incentive fee approval and authorization to remit payment to the May 19th, 2026 consent agenda for approval.
Is there a second?
Second.
It has been moved and seconded to approve the 2026 OVG 360 qualitative and quantitative incentive and move it to the May 19th. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. The motion has passed. Thank you very much. All right. So we are here at item H, the flag policy. I am going to lead this discussion. We will try and conclude it within 20 minutes. We'll put ourselves to the test. Everyone will have a chance to discuss their opinion, of course, of the current policy as well as any proposed changes. At the conclusion, I would ask that you please state clearly if you are for changing the flag policy or not. Everyone is entitled to their own opinion, but we must end up with an explicit legal policy that emanates from the council and that represents government speech and not result in a public forum. We're going to avoid adopting a come one, come all public forum as the city of Boston has done, and which did result in several lawsuits. On staff, we have our city attorney, Adam Gadberry, who's on hand, or will be on hand, to summarize and synthesize our thoughts and agreements, and in the end, help draft the language of the motion that will be voted on tonight, if that is what we so choose to do. This motion will be the basis of drafting the new ordinance that will be proposed at the May 19th council meeting. In the end, we do need 2 committee members to move this out of this committee and send it to the May 19th council for a final vote. At that point, on May 19th, we will need 4 votes. The important thing to note is that based on what is said tonight, your vote may change between now and then. That's why it's important for us to hear what may happen tonight, for us to hear what your thoughts are. So, with that said, I am going to hear from the committee members first, and then from left to right.
I need to leave in 3 minutes.
Okay.
So I need to leave. I have a business.
I defer,
that-
okay, I defer to Councilmember Walsh.
Okay. You know, it was pointed out in some of the public comment that we are a very diverse community. And I think that we need to celebrate that diversity, but also we need to be united with things. And I think that we are united under the American flag, the state flag, and the city flag. And I, for one, strongly feel that we should, you know, back in October, we had a great discussion about it. You know, the composition of the council has changed some since then. But I still feel that that was the right decision to make then. And I think that we'll, you know, and I suspect that there's probably still 4 votes that would still agree with that. I don't know. We can see. But, you know, I think it's something that will, in the end, there's going to be some disagreements on it, but, you know, let's agree to disagree agreeably. But anyway, I feel it should be kept the same as it is now. So,
All right.
anyway, thank you.
Thank you very much. Council member, do you have any input?
Yes, I do. So I wrote it down, so I'm going to read what I wrote, I think. So I do want to express my support for the proposed flag, for the change, to change the flag policy. And I believe if we do it right, it will bring clarity to legal, will be consistent, and a purpose to how we represent our residents. To answer former council member Paul McDaniel's question about Pride, and I'm making an assumption that it's the Pride Week, and then the Pride Month and Juneteenth, they happen in the same month. However, Pride is a month long, and Juneteenth is not. So if that's the one he was talking about, that's the reason why it's not an inferiority, and, one being better or less than, but it's just that how that month is set up. So I just wanted to address that. And then somebody also mentioned the pride flag, and I don't think and I know it's not about sexuality, it's not about sex, it's just about inclusion, belonging, visibility, civic rights, and identity and celebration. And so I don't think it has anything to do with because the person actually, during public comments, said something about why do we care about what happens in their bedroom, and it's definitely far from that. But being seen is what is important, and when we say we're a diverse community and we are inclusive, I think we have to be mindful of what that looks like. And when we, also when we voted in October/November, I think it was November, but I'm not sure, I was the one who did vote against the change. And so former council member Paul McDaniel also brought that up, that the vote was 6-1, and I was the one who held out because I felt very strongly about the fact that changing it was not going to help us move forward as a community, as a diverse community. And so one thing that really hit me a couple of weeks ago during LUTC, we discussed having banners and welcoming for the Kicking It Federal Way, and we couldn't do it because of how restrictive this flag policy, the current policy is. And so now we're not able to showcase Federal Way, and I think we need to change it for that reason, and that, if no other. And so it's the flag policy, and I think we're kind of using flag and banners interchangeably, because we talked about banners, and those are also really restricted. So I am under the assumption and the belief that this is about acknowledging and recognizing the diversity of our community, showing that we're a welcoming city, and it should be free. I also would say should be free of politics and religion. So discussion has come up. What if it's Palestine versus Israel? That is totally politics, and I think we need to stay away from those kinds of support, whatever. And so if we're clear about that and say it's not about politics, but it's about uplifting our community, then I think we're at least half of the battle is won. And then people always talk about the U.S. flag, Washington flag, Federal Way flag, and POW. Those are permanent. They could stay permanent and be there at all times. And I will add to that tribal or native indigenous flag that we don't even acknowledge or recognize. And then what we're discussing here is the temporary flags, and I would say something that is cultural heritage. So it's like Juneteenth, Pride, Irish New Year's, and then there's events like sporting events, again, that we're not promoting, welcoming banners that we could have, sister cities, and so it brings awareness, and it also shows that our city is still welcoming and diverse and inclusive. And so whatever we do moving forward, I think has to be something that we can live with, because now it seems like we had a change of council, flag policy changed. Now we're talking about it because we have a change of council. I think it should be where it's not as restrictive, and there's no ambiguity in this. And then also, we need to plan for unintended consequences, like, again, welcoming city for the Kicking It Federal Way, and we can't do it. And so there's these unintended consequences for being so restrictive that we can't do anything. Now, the discussion could be where, when, how, and what. I think that's also something, and who enforces it, not necessarily enforced, but who is responsible for those. I think that's a discussion also that should be had. And it doesn't necessarily have to be a council, but it has to be approved and agreed upon. And so I think, I just want it to be fair. It has to be consistent to where it's clear and, acknowledging the diversity of our city. And so, and the question for me really is, what are we afraid of, and who are we afraid of when we're making it so restrictive and so unwelcoming and not promoting what we believe is equal rights for everyone. And I believe in everybody's dignity. I believe in everyone being represented equally. And I think this is the celebration of that, of acknowledging and embracing the diversity of our community. So I do support us moving this forward and see if it could be changed. Again, where? I don't support it being here in front of City Hall for various reasons, and so what we have here is fine. Now, where is it going to be and how are we going to implement that? And then who and when? Those are completely conversations that we should have if we're going to move this forward. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Councilmember Hamilton.
First, before comments, it's difficult for me to debate a motion that I haven't heard. So is there a proposed motion that we are thinking that we want to pass, and what is it before I give my comments?
There isn't a formal one. This is more or less a discussion to see, a pulse check, if you will, to see where everyone is. You can choose to comment on the merits of the policy as is, or you could choose to advocate for a change in the flag raising policy. And based on everything that has been said, our city attorney is going to summarize everything and put into language so that I can make a formal motion. And that motion we will vote on. Did I sum that up?
Pretty close. I think the idea here is to have this discussion, ideally to have a finger on the pulse if there's 4 votes to make a change. Obviously, we only have the 3 committee members who are actually voting, but it's to just see, okay, we got a committee, is this DOA at council, or is it actually going to pass or not? So that's kind of the idea here for tonight's purposes. When it comes to the specific motion, we don't have a resolution drafted ahead of time because this is a discussion that council has to have to decide what their policy is, what your policy is going to be. So I will be taking notes, and if there's a consensus to make a change to add Pride or Irish or Juneteenth or anything else, or lighten the restriction for banners celebrating and advertising city events, recount that to y'all to confirm that what I heard is what y'all also heard. And then the motion essentially would be, I move to forward a resolution to council business that makes X, Y, and Z changes to the current city's flag policy. And then tomorrow, I will then draft said resolution, and then that'll be what will be before council at the next meeting.
Okay.
Which is admittedly not an ideal timeline on how this goes, but in an effort to facilitate this in an attempt to get, if we're going to make a change, so it's not even saying we will make a change, but if there is going to be a change, in an attempt to get that done prior to June.
Okay. So again, it's difficult to debate a motion that I haven't heard, but I'll try my best. I'm supportive of the current policy as is. And to me, the question isn't whether inclusion matters. I think we all agree and recognize that inclusion is important, but it's rather whether, the government should decide which identities and which causes and which groups to elevate through symbols. And so, to me, once we go down that road, it becomes a matter of who gets chosen and who doesn't. And that's where, to me, I remember something our city attorney said when we first started talking about this, is that flag policies are more about exclusion than they are inclusion. And there's a lot of groups that I think are worthy of recognition, and there's a lot of federally recognized groups and months, and some of those federally recognized groups, and months are, for example, Black History Month, Women's History Month, Asian American and Pacific Islander Heritage Month, Hispanic Heritage Month, Native American Heritage Month, Pride Month, Holocaust Remembrance Day, that one stands out to me in particular because I know that our mayor said that he denied the Israeli flag flown. Earth Day, Arbor Day, Autism Acceptance Month, Breast Cancer Awareness Month, Domestic Violence Awareness Month, Military Appreciation Month, National Recovery Month, Disability Pride Month, Religious Freedom Day, Constitution Day, Labor Day, Veterans Day, Juneteenth, Martin Luther King Jr. Day. These are all federally recognized. I don't want to have to choose some and not all, because I think when we choose some, we're inadvertently saying that these are more important than the others. And so that's where I'm struggling. And I do agree with my colleague, Councilmember Asefa Dawson, that we don't want to get political. It's difficult to avoid political interpretations, though, for some things. So, for example, we were told that the city of Tacoma has a flag policy, and one of the flags they raised, I believe, was a gun violence awareness month or something like that. And man, that has the opportunity to become very political very quickly. So there's that. It was suggested that we raise flags for federally recognized holidays. Well, Christmas Day is one of those holidays, and so is Columbus Day. Again, very controversial to a lot of people. So I don't think that's the answer. So I think what we're really, the question really is, what is the limiting principle going to be with this policy? Because I think that's extremely important for us to consider when we're deciding this. And to me, the current policy that we have right now is clear and it's neutral and it equally applies to everyone. And that's why right now I am in favor of maintaining the current policy. But again, it's not because I don't want to celebrate and recognize all of the groups that are out there. I think we can do that in other ways. But yeah, I don't want to pick who's chosen and who's not chosen to be recognized. That's important to me because I want everyone to feel like they belong and that they're included. And if we raise the Irish flag, then what about the Ukraine flag? And I've mentioned that Ukraine is in a war right now. I don't know if we want to make a statement on a war, and that's another issue that's becoming very quickly a political issue for many folks. So there's a lot for me to I've been thinking about this a lot, and that's where I'm landing.
Thank you. So I'm going to make a statement, and then I'm going to defer to my colleagues, Councilmember Kochmar, Council President Honda, and then Councilmember Moore. But here's my take. The previous flag policy that allowed the city to raise and fly the Juneteenth flag, the Pride flag, and the Irish American flag was both fair and inclusive. These flag-raising ceremonies created meaningful opportunities to bring people together while recognizing the rich cultural traditions, histories, and contributions that make our community stronger. Far from being divisive, these events fostered civic engagement, education, dialogue, and mutual respect among residents of diverse backgrounds. The Juneteenth flag, in particular, carries profound historical significance. It symbolizes freedom, liberation, and the official end of chattel slavery in the United States following General Order Number 3, issued in Galveston, Texas on June 19, 1865. Raising the Juneteenth flag is not a political statement, as some might argue. It is an acknowledgement of American history, resilience, progress towards justice and equality. Honoring Juneteenth reflects the values of freedom and opportunity that our nation strives to uphold. The current flag policy is unnecessarily restrictive and excludes too many members of the Federal Way community from seeing their histories and cultural identities recognized in civic spaces. Additionally, it is restrictive in the sense that we cannot promote events or acknowledge the tribal lands that Federal Way has been sitting on for 100 years. Rather than promoting unity, the policy risks creating division by limiting opportunities for acknowledgement, celebration, and inclusion. A city as diverse as Federal Way, and I heard we're in the top 10, should embrace thoughtful and respectful ways to recognize the many communities that contribute to its success. Importantly, I want to note, because it was referred to at the podium, no one is advocating for the removal or replacement of the American flag, the Washington state flag, or the city flag. Those symbols should and will continue to be honored and prominently displayed. What is being proposed is reasonable and balanced, allowing temporary commemorative flag raisings during designated times of the year to recognize important cultural observances and historic milestones. We can celebrate as a community around their meaning. A more inclusive flag policy, and yes, I vote for a change, would demonstrate that Federal Way values all of its residents and understands that civic unity is strengthened and not weakened. When we feel seen, when people feel seen, respected, and welcome, that is important and essential. Therefore, I feel that the city should return to a policy that reflects openness, fairness, and the diverse character of the community it serves. Councilmember Kochmar?
I would be last.
Okay.
Martin has his light.
Councilmember Moore?
Oh, I can't wait till after.
No, you go ahead, your light's been on.
Oh, you, I can wait.
My light's not on.
Well, so you guys know where I stand on this policy. And I think without fully understanding the entirety of it, and you guys know, the ones, Council President Honda, Councilmember Safa Dawson, and Councilmember Kochmar know this because you guys were there on the dais when it all happened and how it happened. But it just seemed very all of a sudden. But before I go any further, I did write down some thoughts, and I'm gonna read it. And my angle is this, and that's: can we come to a compromise? Can we come together and find some way to agree? Because at the end of the day, we should not be taking the easy way out. Some things are hard, and we should challenge ourselves. We are policy makers. Our job is to write policies. Our job is not to say, well, we've talked about this for a long time, let's close it and move on. Our job is to deliberate. Our job is to debate and come to a compromise of what's in the best interest of the entire city. And what we have here on the dais is a representation of the entire city. Is, because we were all duly elected with our constituencies. And so I'm going to read my statement, and I have a few items I want to say, and that's, obviously our community continues to discuss the city flag policy, and I believe it is important that we approach this conversation thoughtfully, respectfully, and with the willingness to consider different perspectives. While there are strong opinions on all sides, I believe most residents share a common desire for a community that is united, welcoming, and grounded in civic pride. I respect the desire to maintain consistency, preserve the importance of our national and civic symbols, and avoid policies that could unintentionally create confusion. I share the belief that the American flag, the Washington state flag, and our city flag should remain the primary symbols representing all residents. We all of us agree on that. So let's check that off, okay? At the same time, I believe there is room for a balanced and a structured approach that protects the core values while still allowing limited opportunities for civic and community recognition. A carefully written policy with clear guardrails does not weaken our shared identity. It can strengthen it. By establishing objective standards, designated locations, and off that, let's check off another box that we all agree on. We all agree that the flag shouldn't be flown at City Hall. Okay, so that's two agreements that we agree on as a council, and I hope you're hearing me. I really, with respect and humility, I hope you're hearing me. And so, let's see. By establishing objective standards, designated locations, as I just stated, limited display periods, and a formal approval process, the city can maintain order, consistency, and respect for public spaces while still allowing recognition tied to civic observance, federally recognized holidays, military appreciations, events, cultural celebrations, international events like the FIFA World Cup or sister city relationships. And earlier, my colleague that's on the committee stated a whole plethora of holidays. My response is, let's celebrate it. Let's show our pride for that. And let's figure out, work with the executive and the mayor's office to find, and our staff, to find a way to do that. I also believe it is important to distinguish between acknowledgement and endorsement. Recognizing a community event or observance does not require agreement with every belief, political positions, or ideologies associated with it. Cities routinely recognized veterans, historical milestones, national tragedies, and cultural celebrations because doing so reflects the people and experience that make up the broader community. An absolute prohibition may seem simple on the surface, but it can also limit opportunities for community engagements, tourisms, as we've just talked about recently, international celebrations, and civic connections. I believe most residents want the same thing, a city where people feel proud of their community, connected to one another, and respected regardless of their backgrounds or beliefs. A balanced policy can help achieve that by creating predictability, consistency, and transparency while preserving the primacy of our national, state, and city flags. At the end of the day, thoughtful compromise, clear standards can help us move forward together without losing sight of the values that bring us together as Americans and as neighbors. As part of this discussion, it is my desire for the council to work together towards a thoughtful compromise that reflects both our shared civic identity and the diverse community we serve. We may not all agree on every aspect of this issue, and I think it's clear, but I believe we can still engage respectfully, listen to one another, and find a balanced path forward that strengthens trust in our local government and in each other. And so I advocate for a change in the policy, is the way I'll end. And here's my thing. I think other notes in terms of what I've heard earlier is as I stated earlier, this is going to take time. I'm not interested in rushing this. I'm interested in working through this as a policy body and finding those areas where we can agree and move forward. And I believe we can do it in a way where we can celebrate others, let people know that they're seen, they're respected, they're valued, and I think for me, the other thought that kind of came through my mind is we can't be blinded by our community. And I don't think we are. I don't think we're blinded by our community. And so I think if we can step forward and compromise and find an area where we can agree on, then we're showing the community that you matter. That you matter, just like other cities are. It's easy to say, oh, legally this is not good, legally that's not okay, this is an issue, this is an issue. We can do that to death. But it's our job to come together and find a compromise. Let's find a way to work together to find that median. I urge you guys to consider doing that. Don't just say, well, let's just do the American flag, the state flag, and the city flag, and everybody's going to love it. Everybody's going to be feeling celebrated by that. When that may not be the case. Thank you.
Councilmember Asefa Dawson.
Yes. So I do appreciate what both you, Martin and Melissa said. And I think to answer your question, Melissa, I was thinking about the same thing, like we have a lot of proclamations. And that's where I think, we talked about where, how, when, and who would be very important. So who's responsible for it? For example, when the Irish flag is being flown, it's the community that does it. Juneteenth is the community, and even with the pride flag, it's the community. So I think if a community steps up and says, this is what we want to do, whatever our policy says, then I think it should happen. And if the community does not step up or can't do it, then it's not going to happen. So I think that's where the burden's on us, except for enforcing the policy, whatever that policy looks like. But keeping it the way it is right now is not helpful because, again, we're not missing out on advertising federal way or bringing, talking about events or activities that are within our city. So if nothing else, that I think needs to be updated and changed. But otherwise, I think, I do agree with your concerns. And yeah, I support what you're saying, Martin. But at the same time, I think if nothing, we do need to make it so it's not as restrictive as it is. And then also recognize what it is that we're trying to do and who's being left out and who's not. As long as we know, again, I'm saying nothing political. And you did say, some things could be construed as political. And so, yeah, that's something we need to go through and decipher. But if it's within the policy and the guidelines that we're going to have set, then I think whoever steps up to do a flag or an event, I think need to submit a proposal. And granted, it's going to require staff time. So that's also something we have to really be mindful of, to know and to make sure that it could be done in such a manner that, that it's enforced and upheld. But we do need to change something. It cannot stay the way it is, though. Thank you.
Councilmember Hamilton.
Thank you, Chair. I think at the end of the day, it comes down to what does the majority of the council want? And I am hearing a majority of what the council wants right now. We're not going to make everybody in this community happy, no matter what policy, whether we keep the policy we have or whether we change the policy. It's not going to be a unifying decision no matter which way it goes. We've received emails, I've received emails, I think we all have, probably read them. There's strong opinions on either side of the issue. Again, for me, it's not about not celebrating people or participating in events. I think we should participate in events, and I'm excited to go for the first time to the Phenomenal She event for Juneteenth. I think that's going to be a fantastic event. And I hear what you're saying, Councilmember Asefa Dawson, about, let's celebrate the communities that step up. But there's a lot of communities that step up that I would have concerns about. If a bunch of white supremacists step up and do a rally, I don't want to have to, So I think the question is, what is the limiting principle? And I need that answered before I can even really consider a motion for today, because I haven't heard that yet. And, again, it's not about not including people for me. The reason why I'm making the decision I'm making is, where I'm landing right now is because I do want everyone to feel included, and I worry that people will not feel included when we don't choose their flag or we deny their flag. And again, I asked the mayor if he had denied flags, and he had, and it makes me wonder how those people feel. So if I could just get the question answered as to what the limiting principle is going to be with this motion, that would help me.
Let me ask City Attorney Adam Gadberry if, do you feel that you have enough information to synthesize for us? Because I don't see a point in moving forward with other discussion.
I would like to say something. I haven't said anything tonight.
Yeah.
We could answer my question after everyone has spoken, but I would like that question answered at some point.
Absolutely. So, are you ready to speak again, or speak?
Sure.
Because we have another comment from a committee member.
No, she can go ahead, that's fine.
No, my only thing is, are you open to at least banners again? That, because the current policy restricts that also. So if nothing else, I think that's something, so a change has to happen, is what I'm saying, because we need that clarified. But otherwise.
Chair, is it okay if we go back and forth? Okay, without being, okay. So, that's great. That's diving into the limiting principle thing. So what I'm hearing is you're maybe wanting to limit it to the motion to include city-sponsored event banners. Well, we're talking about a limiting principle. That's why I said limited.
Okay.
If that was the only motion, that would help me decide that would help me understand what the limiting principle is we're talking about.
Got it. So I'm not making a motion, actually. What I'm saying
Okay.
is, change has to happen, because if we don't have enough votes, like you said, then I don't want it to remain the way it is, because we have those, the banners and, like, again, events that happen in Federal Way have to be advertised somehow. So let's say this gets proposed, like, let's make flags okay, and it fails, then I think it should have that follow-up to say, okay, now we need these banners. Does that make sense?
No.
No? So I'm talking about, okay, so we talked about all the different flags, Juneteenth. So the way the policy is now is, the only flags we're flying are the ones we see out here. What I'm saying is, if the proposal moves forward for council to change that policy to include other flags, right? And it goes for a vote at the full council, and it fails, I still want to see a change to this current policy that includes banners that advertise city activities.
Then that would have to be in the motion.
Additional motion during the, okay, all right, that's fine then. But I just want to make sure that we agree on that at least. But, okay, that's my comment.
Okay.
Can I just do
You guys
a
are
clarification point? I can't make a point because I'm not a committee member, but can I just ask a clarifying question towards legal?
Sure.
Okay. So if it has a majority of a committee, it can pass and go on to the council, correct? If there's a motion from a committee and it has a majority vote on the committee,
Yes.
then it would go on to council.
Correct.
And the council could vote it down or vote it forward.
Yes.
Yep.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Chair.
Yep. You ready? Council President.
Definitely. So, first of all, I don't know that we need to change the policy, and I'll just start with that. When you're talking about the banners to publicize events happening, right now there are signs all over the city, and we've used those for years and years, and that probably gets more attention than having banners flying in a very limited space downtown. And I'm not against having a banner flying that says, this is happening, and, because we used to do them at, for swim events. But that is a really limited space as to where we would put those banners up. And right now, I think the signs all over the city advertising FIFA and advertising the Arts Explosion and those things, that gets people's attention. So I'm not sure that I'm not sure that the banners would get the attention that the signs are currently getting. And there's a cost to the banners to create them, and then there's a cost for staff time to put them up and take them down. So that probably needs at some point to be considered, what that cost would be and who would pay that. For the community to go ahead and fly a flag or a banner, that doesn't need a city policy. The community can do that wherever the community would choose to do that on, if they had a flagpole somewhere, not a city flagpole. We have these flagpoles. We have the flagpole in the middle of 320th. We have the flagpole at the Veterans Memorial. We have the little flagpole at Dash Point. But other than that, if the community wanted, as you said, to put up a flag and fly it and have an event, they don't need a city policy to do that. They just need to find a flagpole that isn't on city property. So I'm just, And as Councilmember Moore, this isn't an easy way out. I don't find this to be an easy way out to keep the policy or to change the policy. I don't think this is an easy discussion. We have had this discussion since 2020. And, I just don't think this is an easy way out. Thank you.
All right. Councilmember Kochmar.
Clarification, Chair, I think we're discussing, I believe what I heard the attorney say in the beginning was this is just to find out whether this would even pass if it went to full council, correct? We're not talking about a policy or anything. We're talking about whether we're going to have a policy to vote on, whether we're even interested in changing the policy.
I think ideally it would be to get a finger on the pulse to see if there's
Correct.
enough votes to make a change.
All right, sure.
Candidly, I'm hearing 4 votes to not change is what I've heard so far.
Oh, you haven't heard mine yet.
True, but okay, fair enough. I've heard 3 no's.
I've been waiting
I'm
for it.
assuming you were also a no, and I should not assume.
Never
but-
assume.
Correct. But I would say, so far, even of the members who have been in support of a change, there's not a cogent plan, which will make drafting a resolution a wee difficult to get this across the finish line. So I will stop talking and let Councilmember Kochmar give her 2 cents, and then I will summarize, and then we can go from there.
So I was under the impression that we have the power, the 3 of us, to vote on, I make a motion, as simple as it may be, to change the flag policy as is, yay or nay.
You have the ability to forward a potential change to the full council, but the committee itself does not have the power to make a change at this level. It just has the ability to forward something to the council for the council to vote on.
That's what I meant.
Part of the process.
So even if it's a 2-1 vote in the end, it's still going to move forward. I would prefer to have I'd prefer it that way to make sure that everyone has an opportunity to vote, make it official, and let's put this to rest. I've already said I'm already fine with the outcome. I can kind of assume that it will be a 4-3, but who knows, between now and next week.
So let me
People
clarify,
may be-
before we talk anymore, because we've been talking, where are we? An hour and a half, and I'm really trying hard not to pass out because I was in physical therapy today and I'm not doing well. What I'm trying to say, first of all, Councilmember Hamilton will not be at the meeting on the 19th. She'll be out of town. And I really do agree that I think that everybody should have the right to vote. Whether there's a policy to vote on or not, that's the question, because we've been talking about this for, oh my gosh, since 2019. And we've had we have wonderful people in our community, not just the people on our council, but have really big hearts in our community. And members of my own family that can't believe that people would think differently than they do. My gosh, how could they possibly think that these Palestinian children that are being killed by the Israelis, why wouldn't we be doing something about that? Why wouldn't we have some kind of an acknowledgement about that? And you're saying it's political. It's not political to them. They're big hearts. That's my family. I have people in the community who can't believe that you wouldn't think about a certain group of people the way they think about it. And that government, and I've been in government for a long time, is all about fairness. We don't get to pick and choose. We have to be fair. It's 100,000 people that we're representing, and they all have different ideas. And they all have different ways of thinking about things. And I am, honest to gosh, think that our staff is so tired of being asked to talk over the same topic over and over and over. And yes, I think that there are ways to get around what we need to do, one of which is a flagpole on some private property somewhere, so that we don't have to worry about the city being involved, and the city can show up. But, you know, they're expecting us to do everything for them. There are people who are willing to step forward and take the initiative to do things like, it sounds like the St. Patrick's Day folks want to do something. So, number one, Melissa won't be there for the 19th meeting, so I don't see how we could have a vote. And secondly, I agree with Councilmember Sevadasan and Councilmember Hamilton and Councilmember Honda that I think we should have some kind of a way for banners to publicize public events. Whatever that would be separate for me, not a flag. And I think that we've just talked this to death. And so I'm not changing the policy the way it is. I don't think it should ever have been sent to the mayor in 2019. I thought that was improper. So there I am. I do think, Adam, you're right, there's 4. But I had to say what I thought. And again, we all think differently. We all have really good intentions. All of us have been voted into office because people trusted us, and they trusted the way we thought. And so, yep, you're right, Adam. Thank you.
Councilmember Hamilton.
Thank you, Chair. Well, Adam, your assumption was correct. And I would like to maybe point out another assumption, and that is, we're talking about the banners, and I think there's an assumption that banners are vital to advertising certain events. And, I haven't seen a banner in this city since I moved here, so I'm not sure that that's a correct assumption. But, I do agree with Council President Honda also that this is not an easy decision. Depending on how people feel about this, people have opinions about that. They have opinions about us. And frankly, there's been some strong words used about people who support one way or the other. So it's not an easy decision for anybody. But I guess, I'm going back to my question. What is the limiting principle going to be with the motion? Because I still don't know what the motion is going to be here tonight. And what is the point of taking it to the full council if the votes aren't there? Even if I'm not there on the 19th, I will be there the next month. And I would appreciate the opportunity to vote on something that important, something that I've been debating on now for, I think, the 4th time. If there was a vote, if you want to do that, go ahead and do it. But, I don't think that would be a good thing to do. So with that, I'm still, right now, leaning towards keeping the policy as is.
Councilmember Moore.
With a lot of, I'm not surprised by what I'm hearing, and we disagree, and it is what it is. It's part of our democratic process, and that is fine. But, we do have committees for a reason, and things can be voted out of committee, and it can go on to the process, and if it fails at the council level, it fails. And that's what it is. And I would urge this committee to make a motion, whatever that motion is, and vote on it, and then the council will deliberate whenever that is, whether, obviously it shouldn't be the 19th, I would agree with you, Councilor Hamilton, since you're not going to be there. Everybody should have a say in this policy, but this is a process. And I would, again, I think that there's so much going through my mind right now, and the only thing I can think of is what do our marginalized communities, what are they hearing when we're saying it's time to move on? It's time to fold this issue up. We're done talking about this issue. What are they hearing? And that's my question that kind of comes up in my mind when I hear this. And the only reason why I said, let's do hard things. Let's work on this policy. Let's roll up our sleeves. Let's bring it back to committee and work through this. But there doesn't appear to be a desire to do that. And I don't even know if I'm even being heard right now. So that's just my perception. So I would urge that that the committee makes a motion and makes a decision and move it forward. And if it fails at the council level, so be it. It fails. But that would be what come to my mind. So thank you.
Do you have something?
I'm just wondering, excuse me, with all due respect, what the purpose would be. I mean, literally, if you're going to put staff to work trying to create a policy that we're all going to have to try to vote on, not on the 19th, but after
June 2nd. June 2nd.
June 2nd, what's the purpose, I guess? And, if I'm in a marginalized community, I'm in a low-income community, I'm going to worry about food on the table and how I'm going to get gas and how I'm going to be able to find a job, okay? I'm not worried about a flag. So if you want to talk about things we need to be into, it's our budget, it's the people who are homeless, that's how we're going to take care of our 100,000 people, plus the 25,000 east of the freeway that we're talking about. And so I just think that we need to be sensible here.
Council President.
Let Melissa go first, and I'll go.
But he called a meeting.
Well, she's on the committee.
It's fine.
Excuse me.
That's fair.
Thank you.
Councilmember Moore, I hope you understand that you are being heard. You are just simply experiencing a disagreement.
Sorry, I like how you said that.
It's a policy disagreement. It's not that you're not being heard. I've heard you all throughout this. I've been sitting here, I've been debating this. I've heard from our community. I've heard from our community those who want the policy to stay the way it is and those who want it changed. And there's disagreement even in how they want it changed. I've listened. But there's going to be times when we disagree on policy, and I hope that the assumption isn't that I don't care about marginalized communities or that I'm not listening to you or to others, to my colleagues, because we have to do this respectfully. And I'm feeling like this is now becoming more personal as we continue, and I hope that we can debate policy without making it personal when we disagree. So that's where I'll leave it at. And again, I said, this is not an easy decision for me. And this is exactly why it's not an easy decision for me.
Okay.
Thank you.
Council President.
I don't know why you think you're not being heard. Did you hear what I said? Did you hear what everyone else said? I mean,
Reading body languages, that's all.
Well, we're
Anyways,
reading your body language too.
Okay, let's not get in a fight.
Order. Order.
I heard you clearly tonight. I heard you a few weeks ago. I heard you before that. I've listened to what you've said about this. I've listened to what people tonight have said. I've listened to what staff has said repeatedly. I've listened to what the mayor has told me. I've listened to what the public has told me. To say that I want to keep the current policy as it is doesn't mean that I disrespect anyone, that I don't want to support anyone. To me, that is, in a way, that's a little bit hurtful to think that because I want to keep the policy as it is, that there's something wrong with how I feel about people in our community. And so I'm a little concerned about that statement. If you make a motion tonight, Chair, that motion will be what is stated on the upcoming agenda. And that would be what is voted on. So I would just be cautious about what motion you want to, what you're going to write, so that, it's clearly stated on the agenda, because other than that, it could go to the council meeting, and perhaps the motion could change if somebody wants to make an amendment to it, or it could just simply, it could be voted yes, or it could be voted no. I don't know how it would be voted at the June 2nd council meeting, if you're willing to wait until June 2nd. But I would just say, if you're going to make a motion, I think this is probably the time to do it. It's 8:10, and we started this at 7:18. I wrote down the time. So maybe it's time to just go ahead and make that motion and move forward.
Yeah, are you finished?
Yes.
So, so as chair, I would like to make a motion, and I'd like to make a motion to forward a resolution to council business at the regular meeting of the council on June 2nd that changes the city's flag raising policy.
I'll second. Are you done? You're done, right?
I'm done.
Okay, second.
It has been moved and seconded to forward a resolution to council business at the regular meeting of the council on June 2nd,
Can I
2026.
say something before the vote takes place?
Yes.
The problem with doing it this way is, because I was going to recount kind of what's been said, to then dictate what that motion is going to be, so then the resolution can be drafted. As I said earlier, a council member, Assistant Officer, said that she would like to have Pride, Juneteenth, Irish, various sporting events, sister cities perhaps, remove the prohibition of banners that advertise city events, but then also said that it should not be here at City Hall, correct? So I've got one member, so I've got 4 members who are no on the policy change. I've got 1 member who does want to make a change, but not a change here at City Hall. So where exactly would those flags be raised is a question that I have to ask as someone who's going to try to draft something. I've heard from Councilmember Moore, who doesn't want to rush this. There's, like I said, there's 4 for sure no's that I've heard, but at least for our purposes of the 3 that would like to see a change, I am struggling to hear what the policy would be.
So the reason why I made it intentionally general or vague is because we need to debate as a whole council. So I would ask the council to bring their notepads of what they said today or tonight and reiterate their points. It will probably be voted down, but at least it will be on the record and people will have expressed.
There's no way to have a resolution drafted for the council to vote on making a change in the policy at that level. So if the purpose of tonight was going to be to have the debate to see, A, is there an appetite to make a change? I am hearing there's not, at least from majority of council. And then if there is going to be a change, what that change should be. And we haven't really figured that out yet. Doing it the way we were going to do it tonight is unusual, but it was being done to help expedite this in time for June, right? Is that the ideal way of handling this? It is not, but it is a way to handle it with a timing issue. Councilmember Hamilton has been wanting a limiting factor on the motion to at least have an idea of what it is that we're talking about. Perhaps it is something, maybe the motion, maybe we should pump the brakes. And perhaps with the committee members, we have some conversations with me.
One-on-one.
That's fine. And then we,
It can't be all, as a whole committee.
yes.
Can't even be as
yes.
two, because a two's a
That- yeah,
quorum.
Sure, yeah, of course. So then have a resolution drafted with those conversations to bring back, and then that's the resolution that gets voted on in committee to get, and then get forwarded to council. Now, I will acknowledge Councilmember Kochmar's comment, as the staff who's going to draft this, would be ashamed to spend all that effort on a fool's errand if there's really not going to be a change. But I will do so happily, because that's at the direction of the committee. But it is something to be aware of. But there's, without the three members who do want to change, there's not a unified policy that I heard, to be frank. If I missed that, please correct me. But I heard slow down, make a change, but leave the city hall situation the same. That is a difficult discussion to then draft a resolution that the council's going to be voting on, right? So, I'm kind of at kind of a loss as what to do here based off the discussion. There's obviously some members would like a change, but, we need more direction to draft a resolution for the council to either approve or disapprove.
So you need more direction from the three people who are advocating for change? If we were to get on the same page, would that be sufficient, even though we know what the outcome will be?
The bare minimum would be, I would recommend the three on the
committee
committee.
members.
Because the council has kind of punted this issue to this committee. And obviously, we're hearing from all of the council members. But, having something formally drafted that's got a limiting principle, the words on paper, so that the council can all understand what's proposed. And even if 4 council members ultimately disagree, if the committee, 2 of the 3, want to move this through to the council, then that's proper and can be done, and then the council's free to vote how they want. But to try to draft the resolution based off tonight's conversation, I don't know where to begin, because I've got 4 no's and I've got 3 maybes with 3 different ideas of what to do, and there's no way to draft anything based off tonight's discussion. I'm just gonna be frank, because we've had a lot of discussion. We're kind of where we've been, and we need a cogent policy from the policymakers here on the dais to make that change. So if that's a one-on-one conversation with the 3 committee members, I'm happy to do that, to try to draft something to then come back to the committee, say, hey, here's what the committee's put together. The committee obviously can vote yes or no to forward it, and then it's at the council. Obviously, everyone hopefully will also be at that meeting to vote. So
Adam, with that, then you would draft a resolution after talking one-on-one with the committee members and bring it back to the next Parks meeting for a vote to move it on to the whole council? Is that what you're saying?
Correct, yeah. If it's a timing issue, we could try to get it onto FedRAC. I know we talked about this, but in my mind, I thought there'd be more of a kind of a unifying principle of what the policy was going to be, but
When we voted on this in the fall, it was rather unusual because there was a resolution that was presented to us that night that staff had put together. So I think the direction he's suggesting might be the way that, as a committee, you might want to go. But as a committee, you need to make a decision as to how you would want to do that, I guess.
Okay, how soon can you meet? Is that what you're asking? With just the three of us?
Yeah, I mean, we can, when we're offline, I can schedule a time.
Okay,
at-
one-on-one.
At y'all's convenience. I'm here every day but Monday. That's just because it's my work from home day, but I can come in if that's also the only day that works for everyone. But, yeah, I think we just schedule a time, and then probably we'll need multiple conversations, not just a one-off, and maybe have a conversation with each one of you, draft something that captures what you want, and then have another conversation to show that to everybody, and then bring that resolution to the committee.
To this committee.
Yes, and then,
Next year.
yeah, we go from there, so.
In June, and then maybe to full council after that, if it goes.
Okay.
Yeah, and for anyone listening, listening to the council members, the only way there's going to be possibly a change to the policy is going to be if we take a little bit more time to figure out what that policy is going to be, at least from how I was listening to the council members talk tonight. So, Councilmember Moore, if you're looking for compromise, this may be the way to effectuate that, so.
Okay. Councilmember Moore.
Thank you. Yeah, actually, I can hold and wait for the committee members to speak first.
Councilmember Hamilton. I'm sorry.
Well, I've said from the very beginning that it's difficult to vote on a policy that I haven't seen, or even a motion where the details aren't there. And so I think that our positions have been heard tonight. This is, besides Jack leaving, but I think he already stated where he was at. We have discussed this as a full council. And so I guess at this point, I'm just curious as to what the purpose is of voting just for the purpose of, somebody had mentioned it, just so that we are all on record. I think we've made our positions heard, and so I don't think that that's necessary. Frankly, I'd like to move on to other issues, because I think what I have heard from communities and marginalized communities and is that they want us to work on, other issues. I'm still, wanting to work on homelessness and food insecurity and all the other things that we have to discuss. But I just feel like we've spent an extraordinary amount of time on this one issue. And I'm not saying that it's not an important issue. It is an important issue, but I think we have discussed it. And I think, the majority is what it is as far as the policy position, and that's all I have.
All right. Councilmember, you have anything?
Yes. And I think I was trying to compromise when I made my additional statement, so I hope you understand. But yes, I'd like to talk to you. And I understand, I understand, or I'm assuming for votes like it's been stated repeatedly, that don't want anything to change. But I believe there's a happy medium somewhere, so I'm still going to move forward with saying, let's change something, hopefully something that we can all agree on. But yes, I will welcome meeting one-on-one with Adam. But can we do it on the phone also, or is it just in person?
Well, at y'all's convenience, so
Okay.
Zoom, phone, in person.
Okay, thank you.
Great. Well, with that said.
There is a motion on the floor, just as a point of order, so
How'd you kill that?
it was it sec, I thought it was second. If it was, it just needs to be,
I had seconded, so I can withdraw? Is that what I would
yeah,
do?
just withdraw. either
Okay,
the-
I withdraw my,
Okay.
my second, I guess.
Okay. The motion has been withdrawn. Or the second has been withdrawn. So I withdraw my motion, and yes.
And do I second what he did? I'm good? We're good.
He's allowed to withdraw his motion. It doesn't need a second, so.
Okay. All right.
Chair, can I?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Councilmember.
so just to clarify, I mean, my desire was, can we work together to find some sort of compromise? That's not what I'm hearing, and it is what it is, it's fine. But Adam is correct that at least we get a chance where the attorney can talk to the committee members, that they can make it, that, you know, whatever comes out of that will come to the committee. And I would agree with Councilmember Hamilton. I know it's kind of a shock, but we can agree on some stuff. And that there needs to be clarity. What are we voting on? And I think that'll be made clear next June 9th, thank you. And then that'll be debated, and if that gets passed, that's fine. And if it just goes through its democratic process. I mean, that's what it is. I mean, I hear my colleagues saying, well, the 4 votes are no. Well, the democratic process is there's a committee. If it gets voted out of the committee, it moves on. And if it fails at the council floor, then it fails. If it moves past that, then it's moved past. So that's what I would kind of respond to. But I think this is a good move forward to our assistant city attorney. Thank you.
Okay. There's no other business, so next meeting for this committee will be on June 9th. We are adjourned.